It's going to be very special. You know, go out and get the win tonight and celebrate a little bit after he does it. But you know, it's a big accomplishment, tremendous milestone for him. So hopefully get that done tonight. He's been class. He's personified what it means to be a professional ball player on and off the field. A lot of the charity work that he does has been documented for years. So Tommy's solid. He's one of those professionals that you love having on your team.
You know, guys, it's not every day you get to be here and witness a milestone. Hopefully tonight could be that night for Tom Glavine.
All right, well, one guy who won't be part of it is Carlos Beltran, another outfielder lost to injury. What are the details?
This is no real surprise to me. You know, he's placed on the disabled list today, retroactive to July 25th. That's when he initially hurt himself in batting practice, and what was thought to be an abdominal injury. Actually, they found out with an MRI on Sunday it was a strained left oblique muscle. He's out. Who knows when he's going to come back? I mean, that's a tricky thing. You know, you got to remember, use that every time you swing a baseball bat, every time you torque yourself to throw. So that is something that the Mets waited and kind of hoped he'd be better day to day. He's not close to being better right now. He's on the DL and really no idea when he's going to be back with this team.
All right, moving on to another injury. Paul LaDuca, it's amazing. He said to you, I think it was, Kev, you'd have to remove his legs to keep him out of tonight's game. He wanted to be in there for Glavine. Turns out a leg problem will keep him out of tonight's game.
Yeah, he said to me on the field, actually, Matty, you're right, that he'd have to saw off his legs for him not to catch in this game. And, you know, when I got here, I went out onto the field and I saw Willie Randolph talking one-on-one with Paul LaDuca in a pretty long conversation. And my first thought was, you know what, that can't be a good thing for Paul LaDuca. This guy wanted to play in this game so badly tonight, but unfortunately his hamstring wouldn't let him. Now, he said he's okay. Says it doesn't really bother him when he crouches down, but running the bases is a big problem. He said the last thing he wanted to do was be in a situation where he couldn't score from second base on a single. So although it took some coercing, Paul LaDuca not in the lineup tonight.
Yeah, that's a shame for him. On most days, Luis Castillo would be the lead story as his first game as a Met, but tonight he's a subplot. What's the deal with Castillo this evening?
Well, maybe we'll talk about him more tomorrow. There's a lot of other things going on tonight, as you, of course, as we understand. Castillo's here. He's batting second. He's playing second, and he's going to add some juice to this team. I mean, he's a great #2 hitter. I don't think he's the fielder that he has once been. I don't think he's the Gold Glover anymore necessarily with the range. His knees are a factor, but he's still a very good fielder. He still can get the job done, the 2-hole, and he's in Willie Randolph's lineup tonight, batting second right behind Jose Reyes. We'll see how those two interact. Meanwhile, you look at the Milwaukee Brewers and their lineup and check out Mr. Braun at third base. Boy, unbelievable. In 58 games since he's been called up, 18 home runs. He has had a tremendous start since being called up for the Milwaukee Brewers. Mets and Brewers, Tom Glavine going for 300. For more on tonight's game, upstairs to the booth we go. Gary Cohen, Ron Darling standing by, guys.
And, of course, Glavine is front and center here tonight, Kevin. All eyes on Glavine. And, you know, talking to Tommy the other day, he said he never really started focusing on 300 till he got to 295. But, you know, it's gotten a little more difficult for him each time out. You can only wonder, with all the family and friends on hand here tonight and everybody anticipating 300, what the emotions must be like for Tom at this very minute.
Well, you're right, Gary. When you think about it, I barely made it to 100 wins, so I wouldn't know what it feels like to be close to 300 at 299. But I will tell you this, I pitched in playoff games, and this is like a playoff game as far as there's a little more anxiety. You have to make sure that you get the tickets in everyone's hands when they come to the game. You're worried about how they're going to get there, how they're going to get home, all those little things that take you out of the kind of normal thing that you do start in and start out. And I think that's been the consistent Glavine throughout his whole career. Those are the things that he's always done. So that anxiety level is going to go up a little bit. But, you know, if anyone can handle it, it'll be the old pro Glavine.
You know, Matt made the point earlier of the last 10 pitchers to reach 300 wins, only 3 of them have done it in their first try. And I think for some of those guys, there's almost a sense of feeling as though they're going to let people down because they bring everybody into town and then they have to follow them around for another 5 days before they try it again. And it's almost as though, even though it's a milestone that you know he's eventually going to reach, that you almost feel as though you've got to do it that first time.
Yeah, you really do. You put probably a little more pressure than you want to. And I think sometimes something that happens, teammates tend to put a little pressure on themselves too because they want to get off to a quick start, score some runs, make it a little easier for yourself. And when you start thinking about individual records, it takes you really out of what you're trying to do, and that's win the ball game. Glavine's always been that way. I mean, going for 300 wins, you cannot be anything but consistent with that great work ethic that he's always has. And I think he'll come through a good effort tonight. Whether he wins, we'll see.
And just to put a little crimp in the plans tonight, the fact that LaDuca is out of the lineup and Ramon Castro is behind the plate, and frankly, Glavine and Castro have not been in good sync this year.
Yeah, they haven't. And when you think about it, LaDuca and Glavine, since 2 years ago in spring training, really worked out how to get hitters out. And with Castro, has not caught Glavine as much. He has a little higher target, so it's going to be interesting to see how Glavine works getting that ball down against this tough Brewers lineup.
It all starts in just a few minutes. Glavine goes for win number 300, guys.
All right, thank you very much, Gary, and could be watching history. Let's get back to Castillo for a second. His legs are his meal ticket. This year in 85 games, a 304 average, a 356 on-base average, only 9 steals, but defensively, it's a big reason why he was acquired, no doubt. 3 errors in 85 games. Castillo had a sense he may be dealt for Minnesota yesterday.
Nobody sent me nothing, and you know, I'm supposed to be played yesterday, and when I be there yesterday, I don't see the lineup yet. I say maybe something going on here, and you know, I have a little surprise, but you know, it's good for me. So I'll be here, and good team, and National League too.
All right, what does he bring to this Mets team, Mess?
Well, you know what? First of all, he makes the team better than it was yesterday. Okay, he'll bring speed, he'll bring defense to the ball club. Here's a guy that, you know, has 3 Gold Gloves already under his belt. He's stolen 62 bases in 2000. So he has the speed, he has the defense to make this club better. The only thing, Matty, I don't know yet, watching him play last year as well. He's a good player, like I said, he makes the team better. I don't know if he's the same player that he was when he was with the Marlins in 2000, 2003, in that area. I don't know yet. We have to see. Going on a contending team might change him a little bit, make him a different player.
2003. 2003. Oh, yeah, you know him from 2003. After a break, you'll hear from the Mets on Tom Glavine and his shot at history. Plus, we talk about Pedro. History, not his issue, but a strong rehab start is. He takes the ball tomorrow night. You're going to see it here on SNY. Details ahead.
To be a part of Tom Glavine's milestone, to see a man reach 300 wins, to me, I've always wanted to be in the Hall of Fame, but if I can't be in the Hall of Fame, to be a part of somebody that has, you know, that type of credentials and such a good, you know, teammate, it means the world to me to be able to be out there just to see him achieve his goal.
He's probably the most professional player I've ever played with, as in, you know, he's out for stretching every day. He's in the dugout when he's not pitching, cheering everybody on. He's probably one of the best teammates, if not the best teammate I've ever played with.
Strong words from a couple of big-time players. Only 4 left-handed pitchers have ever reached this milestone. Warren Spahn pitched for the Mets at the end of his career. I'd say cup of coffee, but how about a half a cup of coffee? Glavine will be the first to do it while wearing a Mets uniform. All right, moving on. We'll get back to Glavine in a bit. In other news, Pedro, you know him as Pedro Martinez, less than 24 hours away from making his first rehab start. He'll throw for the St. Lucie Mets Wednesday. 45 pitches is the limit. He is bigger, he is stronger, and he says he feels real good. This start takes place 10 months after rotator cuff surgery.
I feel like I owe the fans, my organization, and management, everybody, the trainers, I owe them a promise, and I said I would do the best I possibly could to actually get back and get healthy and help them for the you know, the last few seasons that I'm gonna play.
You see Pedro there. You're going to see Pedro. How about Pedro? Pedro pitching on SNY tomorrow, 7 o'clock. Bonus coverage, part of our 1-hour edition of North Fork Bank pregame live. Chris Cotter's on the scene in Port St. Lucie to cover Pedro Martinez. We will be here in the studio to bring it to you, so you can see Pedro tomorrow. How excited should fans be about what they're going to see tomorrow?
They're going to be excited, and I think Pedro is going to be more excited than the fans, because I think if you lay off 10 months and coming back and you don't know what type of pitcher you're going to be, or the same Pedro that you were the last few years, I think Pedro is excited about tomorrow. And you know what? We're all excited. We want to see him pitch.
You got to temper the enthusiasm.
Absolutely.
You have to temper.
Yes, you do.
Temper. Curb, I think it is. Curb your enthusiasm. We stay in the game with Just for Men hair color. In the stay in the game moment, John Maine was the man in the rain-shortened win on Sunday. You know what? The rain didn't stop John Maine. The rain in the game didn't stop John Maine. 5 innings, that's all they played. 1 hit allowed. He improved to 12-5 while throwing 62 pitches. Stay in the game with Just for Men hair color. All right, Tom Glavine, you know, 299 wins. 6 of them took place at Wrigley Field. I don't really know why I said that. Oh, it's because they're going to Chicago after Milwaukee. That's where he may have to pitch for his 300th, depending on how he fares tonight. We go to break now. Managers and coaches who know what it means to have Tom Glavine on their side.
You have to cherish these opportunities, these moments. That's why it's so special to be able to be his manager and to be able to watch him help us win ball games, very meaningful ball games, and hopefully a lot more down the road.
Tommy has run the gamut. He's been in World Series, he's won there in all the playoffs, many times 20-game winner, and I don't know how many times Tommy's been on the All-Star team. So he's about to win 300, and I couldn't be happier for any of the pitchers that have passed through here.
He loved getting on the mound and practicing his craft. And he was a perfectionist, and every once in a while when he would have a bad game, I'd say, hey, where's that stoic figure I'm used to seeing out on the mound? And that's what he was, a very stoic figure, a man very much in charge.
The privilege of a lifetime is to be the best of who you are and to exercise that privilege every day. And that exudes Tommy Glavine, and he exudes competitive greatness on everything he does.
I don't know could I have ever pictured him to win 300 games. I don't know if I could picture anyone to win 300 games. It takes a lot of luck, determination, sacrifice, and he has all what it takes to get 300 wins. And to see him do it, although be it in another team, another uniform, it makes me very proud to know, because I've seen him at when he's been at his worst that people didn't even know, and he still was able to win. The guy's a gamer, he loves to pitch, and he's not afraid, and those are attributes I love.
He's the absolute best in baseball at making a pitch when the game's on the line, and I think that's why he's been able to win so many games, and because, come that 5th, 6th, 7th inning, he's always had that thing where he's always made the big pitch when he's had to.
You got to stick around for 20-plus years and have a very, very good career over the 20 years to be able to get 300 wins. So I would be honored to, when he does get his 300th, have been able to have called him a teammate for so long.
While Glavine will win his 300th as a Met, he'll likely be remembered by most as a Brave. 242 of those wins with the Braves. 20 years ago, his first. 7 years later, his 100th win. And in 2000, 7 years ago today, in fact, his 200th win. Speaking of the Braves, they finalized the deal for first baseman Mark Teixeira. The former Georgia Tech star goes back to Atlanta. The Braves send a package of players to the Rangers, and Teixeira is not yet with the club, so he will not be in the starting lineup tonight. The Braves also deal for Octavio Dotel. So Teixeira, Dotel. What does it mean for the Braves right now?
It definitely improved the Braves. I mean, they need some offense, and they're a good ball club right now. And I think what's happening right now, the Phillies, the Mets, and the Braves saying we're in a dogfight right now. The Phillies made a deal for Loesch, and the Braves were getting Dotel, who I think Dotel is going to be the sleeper here. Because what I've been told, and I've asked some scouts yesterday, we're talking about Dotel. His velocity's up, his breakaball's back, so he's back from his surgery. And Teixeira is one of the best power hitters in baseball.
Yep, and playing on a team that was going nowhere. The Mets' upcoming schedule, presented by Barbados Tourism. If Glavine does not win the big one tonight, he's scheduled to go again Sunday at Wrigley. I told you that earlier. The Mets and the Brewers, or the Mets face the Brewers, while the Brewers and the Cubs are in a tight race in the NL Central. Suddenly, that division is way up in the air. Time for another break. Mets and Brewers tonight. All eyes on Tom Glavine and his quest for 300 wins.
The milestone is huge. It's important to me. But the bigger priority is to pitch well for the New York Mets, not pitch well so that I, Tom Glavine, can achieve this goal that I'm with. And then once I get there, I don't care what else happens. I'm not interested in winning 10 games this year. I'm interested in winning beyond 10 games and helping this team win a World Series.
658th time, Tom Glavine prepares to make a major league start. But tonight is different. Tonight, Tom Glavine goes for his 300th win. Milwaukee, Wisconsin could be the home to some baseball history tonight. Twice before, pitchers have won their 300th game in Milwaukee. Tonight, Tom Glavine tries to become the third. The Mets have a new teammate in the building. Luis Castillo joins them to play second base and bat second. But all eyes tonight are on Tom Glavine. Only 4 left-handers in the history of the game have ever won 300. Glavine tries to join that select company tonight as he takes the mound at Miller Park. At Miller Park in Milwaukee, the New York Mets play the Milwaukee Brewers. Tom Glavine goes for number 300. All the action coming up on SNY. Tom Glavine getting ready in the bullpen to take the mound tonight in his first stab at his 300th career win. 22 have reached that milestone, and Glavine tries to join them tonight. He beat the Pirates in his last start, got out of a first-inning jam, and cruised to number 299. 300. The quest begins in a moment. And you can see the extra attention being paid to Tom Glavine's every footstep tonight. And that in and of itself has got to be a major distraction.
It definitely is. It just takes away from your normal routine. Having the cameras there, having Rick Peterson and Ramon Castro trying to get as close to you as they can so you can get a little air time.
And Glavine can only hope that he gets a turn at bat before he ever takes the mound.
There you go.
Because that happened a couple of starts back, and it didn't work out so well in Los Angeles. Here, your Geico Mets starting lineup tonight. Luis Castillo makes his Mets debut. Mets saw him for years playing with the Florida Marlins, and after spending the last couple of years in Minnesota, Castillo is back in the National League and happy to be here. Ramon Castro doing the catching. Lastings Millage dropped to the number 8 hole with Castillo aboard.
Well, Jeff Suppan, who's the hero in the NLCS, of course, against the Mets, signed here to be the veteran, kind of the stabilizing force. Now has become the ace with Ben Sheets out. Has been awful the last 15 starts, 3-7.
Jose Reyes leads things off, and we're underway in Milwaukee as Reyes takes ball 1.
Oh, Hojo and Delgado going over the book.
I didn't know that Carlos shared that book with many people. That's privileged information.
That tells you how much influence Hojo's had already.
Reyes was a spark plug for the Mets on Sunday. A couple of doubles in their rain-shortened victory over the Nationals that enabled the Mets to split that series. And he shoots one towards short, and Hardy playing over toward the bag throws him out. One away.
Well, the Rico starting defense for the Brewers. You see Fielder, who's done a nice job at first base, showing a lot of great range. Miller, their second string catcher, is 6 for 20 against Tom Glavine. Ryan Braun, the rookie, having a great offensive year, but he has made 14 errors in a short time here with the Brewers.
So here's Luis Castillo, his first at bat as a Met. Mets traded 2 minor leaguers to get Castillo, who bluffs a bunt and takes a strike. Castillo will look at a lot of pitches. He'll lay down bunts. He'll slap the ball the other way, particularly batting from the left side.
To do exactly those things that when Rick Downs was let go, Howard Johnson brought in, exactly the things that the Mets and their organization want their hitters, especially early in the game, to do.
There was a time when Castillo, as a right-hand batter, would hit for a little pop. Those days are gone. Now he's very much a singles hitter, which he's always been from this side of the plate. Spent 10 years with the Marlins, was part of 2 World Championship teams with Florida, and he lines one the other way. The left fielder Mensch retreating to make the grab. 2 away. Well, confused Mensch a little bit.
Well, he does a lot of shaking of his head in left field, to tell you the truth. The best part of his game is his offense.
It's a big head to shake. Here's David Wright. David, after a little bit of a struggle for a few days on the homestand, had 5 hits in the last 2 games against the Nationals, and batting average up to .298 on the year. Mets facing Suppan for the second time this year after his NLCS MVP performance last October. Mets beat Suppan at Shea back in May, and the curveball bends in for a strike. Mets didn't have much luck against Suppan in the 2 starts he made for the Cardinals against them in the LCS last year. Carlos Delgado waits on deck. And after Suppan signed for 4 years and $42 million with the Brewers, he got off to a fast start, but lately it really has not been working for him. 1-4 with an ERA over 6 over his last 10 starts, and you have to really wonder about the long-term efficacy of that investment. 1-2.
Well, it's kind of mirrored the entire team of the Brewers in the way they've gone downhill. Last 5 weeks have lost 7.5 games in the standings to the Cubs. Now only 1 game over the Cubs.
And of course, part of that has been because the Cubs have been hot. As Wright hits it hard and past the diving Braun and into left field, and the Mets have the first base runner of the night. So David now 6 hits in his last 8 at bats, and the Mets have a 2-out base runner.
Well, it's easy for me to say it after he gets his base hit on the breaking ball from Jeff Suppan, but I talked to our colleague Keith Hernandez over the weekend, and he told me, he said he loves the way Wright is swinging the bat right now. Look for him to break out.
So here's Delgado. Carlos took an 0-for on Sunday, but otherwise had a terrific homestand, including that opposite field home run that he hit on Saturday night. The Brewers put 3 infielders on the right side against Delgado. Inside, he swings over it, 0-1.
Well, good pitch inside, just back over the middle of the plate. The only thing I don't like about these shifts as a pitcher, Gary, is it almost takes away half of the plate. You cannot throw a fastball for a strike away because the hitter is just going to really hit it the other way, like a guy like Delgado. So really have to pitch in with fastballs and breaking pitches down and in.
Suppan staying with the fastball, gets ahead 0-2.
Again, back-to-back fastballs in, but up to Delgado. That is the key. If you want to go inside Delgado, if you're going to make a mistake, make it up in the strike zone, not down.
Let's see if Wright runs here on 0-2. David has stolen 23 bases. Not going. Up and in, 1-2.
Well, after 3 straight fastballs, you would have to think Suppan, who's a breaking ball pitcher, would have to mix one in here. Nice time for David Wright maybe to take a base as you see Moises Alou on deck for the Mets.
And Suppan thinking the same way. Delgado has a couple of home runs in his career against Suppan. Carlos now with 17 for the year. Wright takes off, the curveball low, Miller mishandles it, and Wright has his 24th stolen base of the year. So Wright picked the perfect pitch to run on.
Yeah, Suppan trying to protect his breaking ball by throwing over once on Wright, but of course that ball's got to be in the dirt. Wright slips on the jump, but that ball in dirt, Miller's not able to handle it, even though Miller has thrown out almost 25% of base stealers this year.
So Wright's in scoring position. That forces the third baseman Braun to open up the shortstop hole for Delgado on 2-2, and he hits one on the ground into the shift. The shortstop Hardy is right there to make the play and end the inning. So a base hit, a stolen base, and 1 left, and Tom Glavine goes to the mound in search of win number 300. Tom Glavine made his first major league start as an Atlanta Brave in 1987, picked up his first victory that year, and now nearly 20 years later he's on 299. First 242 of those wins came as a Brave, the last 57 as a Met, and now he goes to work on the Milwaukee Brewers trying for his 300th win. Corey Hart, the leadoff hitter for Milwaukee. As you look at the Brewers forward starting lineup, Prince Fielder leading the National League in home runs, but he's been in a home run drought. And really this entire Milwaukee team has been in something of a drought. They come off a road trip in which they lost 6 of 8.
Well, the Mets rallied in Tommy's last start to get him that 9th win and 299th of his career. And he's going to have his work cut out for him, even though he's 2-0 here at Miller Park. Tough lineup, this Brewers lineup, and they play extremely well here at Miller Park.
Mets haven't faced, Glavine hasn't faced the Brewers since early last season. His Hart grounds one to Reyes, and he makes the running toss in time, one away. So 1 out and nobody on.
Well, here's Alexis starting defense for the Mets. Castro gets a start at catcher. LaDuca, of course, with that bad hamstring. Wright, Reyes, Castillo, of course, at second base should all help Delgado on the ground, and Green in the air on pop-ups behind second base. Milledge, of course, with his 8th start in center field, Alou in left.
Here's J.J. Hardy, who when we last saw him in May was making like Joe Hardy. He has cooled off considerably as Glavine gets ahead of him with the changeup. Hardy has 18 home runs, but he has not hit a home run in 100 at-bats over 26 games. So he has come down to earth considerably. And he hits it hard down to David Wright. Plays the offbeat hop. And off the bag, Delgado to make the tag for the second out. So Glavine getting 2 ground balls to start the night. And now here's Ryan Braun. Now, Braun was not with the Brewers the last time we saw them. He didn't come up to the big leagues until the 24th of May. And yet he leads all rookies in RBIs and in home runs and in batting average. He's the rookie Triple Crown leader right now, despite having not played in the big leagues the first 7 weeks of the season. I'll give you an idea just how good he's been.
And how much they thought, how good they thought he could be. Ned Yost, when he came up, put him right in that 3rd spot. He said, listen, he's going to be a 3rd place hitter someday. Let's put him in there right now. And he's just taken off.
You know, so many of the lessons that Ned Yost learned were at the feet of Bobby Cox. He was on Bobby's coaching staff for a dozen years. And he said he saw Bobby Cox do the same thing with Chipper Jones when he came up, put him right in the 3-hole. And Glavine throws a strike 2-1. Ryan Braun, 1st-round pick by the Brewers 2 years ago out of the University of Miami, where as a freshman he broke Pat Burrell's RBI record for the Hurricanes. Take it below the knees. It's 3-1.
Well, he's a Granada High school product, Granada Hills, and that's the same high school that John Elway went to in California.
So Braun is a special talent. The only question is on his defense. And Glavine does what he does to so many young hitters on 3-1. Throws him a changeup he might not have been expected.
Well, in baseball language, that's pulling the string, as he did to Ryan Braun.
3-2 to Braun with 2 out and nobody on. In the air to right field, and Sean Green back astride right there. And Glavine has himself a 1-2-3 inning in the bottom of the 1st. So Glavine off to the good start here in Milwaukee. We go to the 2nd with no score. One of the things Glavine said in the days leading up to this is that what would make this start and the next win even more special would be if he could go 9 innings. To go 9 innings, you have to have quick innings, and Glavine had himself a quick 1st inning. Moises Alou leads off for the Mets in the 2nd against Suppan. 4th game for Alou off the disabled list. And he's been attacking the first pitch at almost every at bat. Hits it to right center, Hall and Hart, the right fielder, has it 1 away. So 1 out and nobody on. A lot of interested parties in the ballpark tonight watching Tom Glavine's bid for number 300. The most interested party is standing by with Kevin Burkhardt.
That would be his wife Christine, who is one of 30 members of Tom's friends and family here. How you forget about Tom? How are you doing?
Not very well. Billy said that Tommy's doing much better than I am. I guess it shows on my face.
What has he been like, you know, as he's gotten closer to this milestone, and what's he been like away from the field?
He's been pretty good. You know what? Actually, when we got 299 under our belt, he breathed a sigh of relief, and I was like, no, I feel like I've had 12 cups of coffee. Like it just kind of got the wheels going even faster for me. But he's been really good.
What was it like for him spring training? I know when he came in, all the questions, hey, how long are you going to play? The milestone was all. What was his mindset coming into this year? You know, it obviously a lot on his mind, I would imagine, right?
Yeah, there was a lot of question marks, and obviously the way things. I mean, we don't assume anything. We're hoping tonight we can get this under our belt, but there were some question marks, and we're to the point now where I think we can cross our fingers and say that it'll happen this year, hopefully, barring any injuries.
Has he been able, you talked about relaxing a little bit, has he been able to actually enjoy the last few days now that he's one win away? Has he been able to actually have a little fun here?
He has. We had some really good friends in town, and we actually celebrated $2.99 like 2 days later because we were waiting for them to get into town, but he has. It's kind of hard to get real caught up in this when he's at home because we get so much going on with our crew that, you know, he's dad when he's at home. He's always been able to do that, shake it off, you know, leave it at the ballpark. And
well, what does he like I mean, he's so professional everywhere he goes. What is he different at home, personality-wise?
Honest to God, when he gets in the car, regardless of whether he's had a bad night or a good night, he's actually consoling me. He's like, you know, I didn't have it, blah, 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 whatever. So thanks to his parents, he's always been able to leave it in the locker room, and when he comes out, he 99 times out of 100 has a smile on his face. So.
I'll let you watch. Don't get too nervous. Things will be okay.
Too late for that, though, but okay.
Thanks, Christine.
You got it.
Okay, guys, back to you.
All right, thanks very much. And it just gives you an idea how families live and die with these games.
It's just so difficult to explain because you think at home it's so great. You get the best seats. You get to watch the games. Free food, all these, you know what, the whole thing is that it's just nerve-wracking to watch someone that you love out there sometimes getting their head bashed in or on top of the world. I remember my wife Tony in the World Series in 1986. I pitched this game. I thought, you know, fourth game of the World Series, I win. I'm so proud of myself. I'm slapping myself on the back. I can't wait to get home. I get home at the hotel. She's in there crying. I said, what happened? I was just mugged. She'd been mugged at the ballpark.
Gosh. Green with a slow grounder, and Suppan off the mound will make the play himself for the second out. Wow.
So she had all this cash on her because she was there. She's going to buy my parents a television. So she had all this cash. She was going to do it the next morning. And someone saw it, of course, as she was getting one of those hot dogs at Fenway Park. Mugged her coming out of the stadium. Kevin Mitchell ran into the park looking for to apprehend the criminal.
Boy, are they lucky he didn't find them.
Exactly. Didn't find him. So that was my reward for the fourth game as my poor wife was home crying because she had been mugged.
Well, here's another man of the moment tonight, Ramon Castro, who has just been tearing it up at the plate. Hit a bomb of a home run on Sunday. And there's a lot of responsibility on Castro's shoulders tonight, aside from his offense, because well, he has not done a lot of catching of Tom Glavine.
Well, what I think happens, you saw it in the Atlanta staff, those pitchers, whether it's Smoltz, Glavine, or Maddox, really had their catcher that they chose that would help them out. You know, Maddox had his catcher. Lopez caught most of Tommy's wins. But LaDuca, since he came over to the Mets, really became Tom Glavine's catcher. And they really synchronized all the different pitching sequences. So it's just different for Glavine to pitch to Castro, who he hasn't had a lot of experience with.
1-1 to Ramon, and it's taken off the plate. And you can't even express how devastated LaDuca is to not be in there tonight. He was out early, about 3 o'clock here before the game, running, throwing, coming out of his crouch to make throws to second base to see whether that hamstring would allow him to go tonight. And if it were up to him, he'd probably be out there. 3-1 now to Castro. But Willie Randolph watched every move, and he said, look, A, we can't afford to lose you for a month, and B, we want you to be able to score from second base on a base hit and do the things that you would normally do in the course of a game. And he basically told LaDuca he wasn't going to play, and Paul had to buy into that it was the best thing for the team. Pulled to shortstop right at Hardy, and the overhand toss gets Castro, and Suppan gets the Mets out 1-2-3 in the second. On to the bottom of the second, Glavine back to the mound with no score. Tom Glavine got the Brewers out 1-2-3 in the first inning. And now he'll take on Prince Fielder, leading off in the bottom of the second. Fielder leading the National League with 30 home runs, but he's gone 17 games and 63 at bats without one. So in between Hardy and Fielder, the Brewers have been struggling a little bit with the long ball from 2 of their biggest guns. However, even with that, the Brewers still lead the National League in home runs with 143. And Glavine has given up his share of long balls this year, 18 of them. Only 6 pitchers in the league have allowed more. And he's behind on fielder 2-0.
You know, Gary, part of it is they just been pitching him so tough. 48 walks, 9 of those intentional, and he's been hit 10 times. So they've been brushing him off the plate.
And it's not like he stands that close. No. 2-1 to fielder. Well, Prince has had a superb year, and as you look at Bill Hall on deck, certainly for the first half of the season, you'd have to rate him as the National League MVP. Whether he'll be that for the full season remains to be seen, but he is still a very young player. Two-two to fielder. Misses the outside edge, and it's 3-2. Let's play maybe a step to the right against fielder, but not much of an overshift. And the curveball popped up. So Glavine going to his 3rd pitch there. And Reyes has got it, 1 away. So 1 out and nobody on as fielders retired. Well, in addition to all the milestones on the line today is also the trading deadline, and the Mets were not the only team involved. In fact, the National League East was front and center as far as trades are concerned. The Braves made the biggest deal as they traded their young catcher Jared Saltalamacchia and 3 other prospects to Texas to get Mark Teixeira. They also picked up Octavio Dotel from Kansas City as Bill Hall grounds one down to 3rd, and Wright makes the play for the 2nd out. So certainly the Braves made the biggest splash. The Mets made a very important one. The Phillies also helped themselves by getting Kyle Loesch from the Reds on what otherwise was not a huge trading deadline market.
Well, it's just so difficult because of the wild card. Everyone thinks they're in it, even when they're not. But the Braves really helped themselves. I really like Teixeira. Mets got Castillo. He's going to really help the team. But Dotel, you've seen the way he's been throwing? I mean, really back to his old form.
Well, the Braves needed that as Kevin Mench stands in. I mean, we all thought that the Braves had done a great job of addressing their bullpen in the offseason, but then Mike Gonzalez got hurt. Rafael Soriano and Bob Wickman have not been pitching well, and they needed another arm down there. And Dotel's a great pickup for them. 1-1 to Mench. Starting the night, the Mets 3 games up on the Phillies, 4.5 up on the Braves. The Phillies are down 2-0 in the 2nd in Chicago. The Braves lead Houston 3-1 in the 4th in Atlanta.
And don't overlook the other 2 people in that trade. Ron Mejia, of course, the left-hander from Texas that came over with Teixeira, and Royce Ring, we were mentioning before, acquired by the Braves also. They were going a long time without a left-hander in that bullpen. Now have a couple.
2-1 to Mench, hit hard to short, right at Reyes. And so Glavine, 2 perfect innings under his belt. So the bid for number 300 off to a fast start for Glavine. Now the Mets try and get him some runs.
Mets season tickets and plans are the only way to get guaranteed postseason access. Get yours at Mets.com.
Full season ticket holders will have priority access at Citi Field. Call 718-507-TIXX or go to Mets.com today. Lastings Millage leads off the 3rd inning in a scoreless game. Millage riding a 9-game hitting streak, and he takes a strike, and he's in center field, and he will be for another week and a half at least, with Carlos Beltran now having been placed on the disabled list, retroactive to Wednesday. So the next game that Beltran will be eligible to play will be the final game of the series with Atlanta a week from Thursday. And whether he'll be even available at that point remains to be seen. 2-1 to Millage. So Millage, who has looked very comfortable playing center field, is going to be out there for a while.
Isn't that funny? I was just going to say that. In left and right field, he's looked very adequate, but not great. Center field comfortable and exponentially better on reading the ball off the bat.
Stroked into right field, falling fast with the slide, comes hard, and he makes the play. Nicely done by Corey Hart on a ball that looked like it was going to land in front of him.
Well, good play by Hart, who has a lot of speed for a big man. Makes the nice play. Got a good read off the bat of Millage. And makes that play. And I'll tell you, both teams look like they got a lot of rest yesterday and look ready to go today.
And as Tom Glavine steps into the batter's box, Kevin Burkhardt is standing by with his folks.
Indeed, Gary. Fred and Millie Glavine here as Tommy takes a couple of hacks. And this has got to be a very proud moment for you, Fred, huh?
Very proud, very proud. Never in my life ever dreamed would come to this point.
Can you think back to the time when, you know, hockey and baseball were both on the table and you had to make a decision which one to play?
Oh, yeah. We played both of them until we got what we wanted.
Was it hard to bypass the college education? Was that a hard thing to do?
Well, yes, it was. That was one of the things we were worried about. But when we made the decision, the way we felt about it, Tommy would give it 3 years, and if things didn't work out, they get out and go to college.
Does he come to you at all for advice during this stretch, or just to talk, and maybe anything other than baseball? What's he been like? What have your conversations been like as he's approached this milestone?
We just general talk. He doesn't talk a lot about going for his 300th win or anything. He's the same. He just goes about his business. We don't really talk a lot about what he's going for in his record.
So does he pretty much leaves it at the field then?
Yeah, well, when he was very young, that was the idea that I told him that he'd probably play 1,000 games in his lifetime, and the best approach would be that you can't win them all, so you play your best and leave it there, and that's what he's always done that.
Let's check in with Mom. You know, we just talked to Christine, and she's pretty nervous. How are you doing?
Very nervous.
She got the hands folded and everything like that. What's today been like for you? Has today been a fun day for you?
Yeah, we went with the kids and all the family down to the waterfront and to the museum and everything they had down there. We had a fun day.
Can you put this into words, what this night means to you, having your son out there, doing something that only 22 other people have done in the history of the game?
Never thought he'd ever do it. Never thought about it. We never even thought about it when he was in baseball at first, up until probably, in the last year, that something like this could really come about.
Hopefully it has a very happy ending. Fred and Millie Glavine, thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, back up to you.
All right, Kevin, and the story is that Glavine was going to go to college at UMass Lowell and be a business major if he hadn't signed with the Braves. Well, obviously, his father already was well versed in business.
Well, he was, and he got $80,000 from the Braves, and they figured that was enough that if he ever wanted to go back to college, he had that. And that's a great thing. And I've spent the last 10 days at my home in Massachusetts, so I'm very comfortable with the accent of Fred and Millie, I'll tell you that. And us Massachusetts people can be very Calvinistic, very pragmatic when it comes to things, and they taught their son well.
Calvinistic, I like that. Tommy was a great hockey player, drafted in the 4th round by the Kings, but was looking to go to college to play both hockey and baseball. He was going to go to Lowell, which was that program was going to allow him to play both, which a lot of schools were not because the seasons tend to overlap a little bit. But he was a huge Bobby Orr fan and a huge Carl Yastrzemski fan, so it was a tough choice for him. I think he chose right, though. Reyes bounces one out to the second baseman, Graffinino. Well, you can only win if your team scores your run. So far, the Mets having as much trouble with Suppan as they had with him last October. Damian Miller leads off the home 3rd inning, and he pulls one down to 3rd. One pitch, and David Wright throws out Miller, 1 away. 7 up and 7 down for Glavine, which we're talking about Glavine and his choice between baseball and hockey.
I don't know. I look back at it, and I know, I was a better hockey player at 18 years old coming out of high school than I was a baseball player. I know that. I was more polished. I just knew that when I kind of sat down with my mom and dad and had hockey on one hand and baseball on the other, and went through the checklist of, okay, here's the pros and cons of both sports. Obviously baseball came out way ahead in terms of health and longevity. I think I had the talent to make it to the NHL, but I'd be hard-pressed to believe my career, had I chosen that sport, would have been as good as it's been in this sport.
As it turned out, if he had signed with the Kings, he might have been skating on a line with Gretzky.
Unbelievable. Well, he had a great line. He said, well, they seemed like they wanted left-handed pitchers in the major leagues, so I figured I'd give it a shot.
That's true. 3-0 the count to Graffinino. Tony Graffinino out of East Islip High School has gotten a lot of playing time with the Brewers this year. Their regular second baseman Ricky Weeks has had a dreadful year and an even worse July. So Graffinino starting tonight. And he takes ball 4, and the Brewers have their first base runner. So Glavine had retired the first 7 in a row. 1 out and 1 on, and now the pitcher Suppan will come up to bunt. Well, a couple of highlights of Glavine's career. Second-round draft pick by the Braves in '84, and up in the big leagues 3 years later. Picked up his first win against the Pirates, his 100th win 13 years ago, and his 200th victory 7 years ago. A couple of Cy Youngs. He has just had a phenomenal career. And you know, we were talking before about Ned Yost, the Brewers manager, who was just barely retired when Glavine came along with the Braves. He had been in the Braves system and was starting out a career as a coach and minor league manager with Atlanta. And Suppan bunts it foul. And Ned was talking about his role in Glavine's development.
Well, he did. He was one of those catchers like Mike DeFelice for the Mets that they really kept around to work with the young pitchers, and they had so many great young pitchers coming up. Glavine, Pete Smith, Kent Merker, Steve Avery.
Poked foul. 0-2.
And Yost was there to really mentor those guys. And in fact, you and I were talking about before that Glavine's array of pitches was a big curveball, his sinking fastball, and he had a split finger that he loved. But Ned Yost told him what, Gary? That
well, he said that apparently in the minor leagues he got lots of swings and misses by bouncing his split. And Yost told him from the time that Glavine was in Double-A, look, that split that you bounce, big league hitters are not going to swing at it. And Glavine was very hard-headed and said, no, they're going to swing and miss. Got to the big leagues, turned out, well, they didn't swing and miss. And, you know, Glavine, his career began with 9 wins and 21 losses. And finally, he gave in and worked on his changeup. And it really was when Leo Mazzoni came along in 1989 that he finally developed that changeup. And Suppan fouls off the bunt for strike 3. First strikeout for Glavine. And it's interesting because you look at what happened to Glavine over the last 3 years and how hard-headed he was for a while about changing his pitching style before Rick Peterson convinced him to pitch more inside, throw his curveball, and really revamp his repertoire again. He's obviously very competitive, and guys can be bullheaded until it becomes apparent to them that they have to change.
Especially when you've had that much success. He had to go 180 degrees, different than how he threw before. And what he had to do is that instead of throwing soft, he had to go hard. And when he was supposed to throw hard, he had to go soft. He had to mix in that occasional curve. And, you know, Peterson telling him, listen, if you want to pitch one more year, that's great. Throw what you're throwing. If you want to win 300, you're going to have to change your game. And he showed the courage, and he did it.
Pulled down to third. Wright goes the short way to second, gets the force play, and the inning is over. So Glavine has thrown 3 hitless innings. We move on to the 4th here in Milwaukee. Mets and Brewers, no score.
Thursday, August 9th is Mets Shoelace Day, presented by New Balance and Sesame Street. Enjoy the afternoon game with friends from Sesame Street. Get to Mets.com for your tickets.
Let's check out our Jeep around the majors. We told you about some of the National League East trades. The Yankees made a deal, interestingly trading away a relief pitcher to get Wilson Betemit from the Dodgers. The Red Sox get a high-quality reliever, Eric Gagne, to set up for Jonathan Papelbon. And the Pirates, for some reason, acquire Matt Morris as Luis Castillo tries to bunt his way on. Why would the Pirates pick up Matt Morris?
It's very funny. I thought the same thing. The only thing I can think of is that with all their young pitching, it's well documented how well Matt Morris has dealt with all the young pitchers for the Giants, Lincecum, Kane, et cetera, et cetera. But boy, I mean, if you're struggling and you know, the lack of a better word, stink. I mean, just not a good team. You think you want to get younger, not older.
Well, also, Morris has a contract for next year at pretty big money for a small market team. That's another chunk that they can't spend on, you know, a younger, more productive player. As Castillo takes outside 1-1.
It just, you know, makes no sense unless they've just felt that he would be the kind of guy they need in there to kind of help their young pitchers.
Foul back. Castillo lined out to left in his first at bat as a Met. One thing about Castillo over the course of his career, which has changed a little bit this year, he's always been a high on-base percentage guy, and his on-base percentage is okay. It's at .356, but his walks are way down this year. Usually he's good for 65, 70 walks a year. This year only 29. Slaps one foul.
Yeah, 29 walks and 28 strikeouts, which is always a strange stat to look at. But Castillo's a different player than he was in his heyday years when he was with the Florida Marlins. But I think he's brought over for his leadership. I think he'll be reinvigorated working with the young Reyes, and he's a winner. He's got a ring, and I think that's always something that Omar and the Mets are always looking for to bring into their group.
Pops it up, and in foul ground Miller takes charge, and that's the first out. Well, Castillo formed such a great tandem at the top of that Marlins order in 2003 when they won it all. He was also there for part of their '97 championship, so he's actually got a couple of rings. And you know, people talk about Castillo and they talk about him as a guy who's sometimes oblivious to his surroundings, but just knows how to play the game between the lines.
Kind of a savant, baseball savant in that way.
I think it's a great way of putting it. Here's David Wright, who has the only hit of this game for either team. Single to left with 2 out in the first, and then stole a base. And David takes ball 1. And David takes the load, 2-0. I'm not sure what Rick can say to him at this point.
Well, it's pretty interesting, right, that Rick is sitting there but no one else is next to Glavine. It's almost reminiscent of later in the game, 7th, 8th inning, when a pitcher has a no-hitter, that no one wants to be around that person because it's such it's almost too big for you to wrap your brain around. So stay away from it and watch the game.
There's a strike, 3-1, and oh, by the way, he's going for his 300th win, but he also hasn't a lot of hits yet. 3 pitchers have pitched shutouts for their 300th win. Most recently, Phil Niekro. And if I recall, as Wright draws a 1-out walk, if I recall the story about Niekro when he won his 300th game and pitched that shutout, that he threw all fastballs. Knuckleball pitcher who just needed to prove that he could win a game not throwing knuckleballs.
Well, he'd always taken that abuse that he was a knuckleball pitcher, which means some people would say his wins didn't mean as much as people who threw fastballs and sliders, which is nonsense. But he won his 300th game in his 358th start, same as Tommy tonight. 368th start, sorry.
Here's Delgado, who grounded out to short his first time up. And Wright is back. David stole his 24th base after he got aboard in the first, and then Delgado grounded out to end that inning. So Wright has been the only man on base for the Mets tonight. Delgado gets under 1 to right center field. Billy Hall is there. And so there are 2 away. So 2 out. Right back to first. Well, while Tom Glavine goes for win number 300 here tonight, tomorrow night Pedro Martinez continues his road back. Pedro will be making his first official minor league rehab start for the St. Lucie Mets, and SNY will be there to cover it.
45 pitches, and by Major League Baseball rules has 30 days to get ready. If he doesn't get ready within that time, he's not allowed to be on the postseason roster.
So we'll have an expanded pregame edition tomorrow night, starting at 7 o'clock. We'll cover all of Pedro's first rehab start, as we also get you ready for the Mets and Brewers tomorrow night here.
Well, Pedro's right. He said, I'm as big as Roger Clemens, and he is. He's getting his games on TV, the rehab start for 45 pitches. But it's going to be great to see the shape that Martinez is in. I've heard from people that he is just in unbelievable shape.
Thrown away, and Wright takes off for second, chased down by Graffinino, And now Wright heads to third. The throw by Hart is offline, and Wright arrives safely. So Suppan throwing it away on a pickoff try, and Wright gets to third on the air.
Well, Suppan tried to give him the real quick move, and this throw isn't even close. Fielder can't get to it. And you know, David Wright is always accused of he's a good base stealer, but he's not that fast. Look at him. When he turns it around here, I thought Hart had a chance. And boy, he kicked it into a next gear, and there was no play at third base.
The thing about that pickoff try is that David didn't have a very big lead. He was only about a step from the bag. So not a good decision by Suppan. And so on the error by the pitcher, Wright at third with 2 down, and Moises Alou will try and get him in. And Mo takes ball 1.
It's not only that, you have a guy at first base that's not in scoring position. You have a hitter up who loves to swing at the first pitch. Concentrate on that first pitch to the hitter. Let him put that in play.
Alou swung at the first pitch his first time up and flied out to right. Takes the fastball high and away. 2-0. Let's try to get a lead for Glavine. And trying to do it against Jeff Suppan, who gave them so much misery last October. Two and 0 to Alou. And he takes a strike. Sean Green hitting 6th in the order on deck. And now Suppan behind 3-1. Moises looking for his first RBI since returning from the disabled list. He had a double his first time up. He's 0 for 11 since. He's hit some balls hard, though. Three and 1 to Alou. And he walked him. So the second walk of the inning issued by Suppan. Now runners at the corners for Sean Green. Mets Ticket Marketplace at Mets.com is your way to get the best seats in the house for single games at Shea. Get your premium seats from season ticket holders directly through the Mets. Sign up for your Mets Ticket Marketplace membership today at Mets.com. Sean Green hit a comebacker his first time up. He has never had much luck against Suppan. Just 3 for 28 now.
And that's the reason Suppan pitched around Moises Alou.
Green pulls one down to fielder. Side retired. Hit it hard, but right at the big target at first base. So a couple of walks, a throwing error, and 2 left. Glavine back to the mound. Still no score. Statue outside Miller Park. Hank's record being challenged tonight by Barry Bonds in Los Angeles. To get your SNY on the web, make your homepage SNY.TV, the online home of all things New York sports. Pre-game, post-game, every game. If you want your SNY online, bookmark SNY.TV. J.J. Hardy leading off in the bottom of the 4th in a scoreless game. Hardy grounded out to David Wright his first time up. Glavine's been getting a lot of ground balls early on tonight. And he gets the changeup in for a strike, 1-1.
I like how he's centering that changeup when it's early in the count. He's 1-0 or 0-1. He's throwing it down the middle, just keeping it down instead of trying to hit the corners and getting the call from the umpires.
2-1 to Hardy.
Brian Gorman, the home plate umpire tonight, has been known to have a very small strike zone. Well, I said Brian Gorman. Let me check that. It's Chad Fairchild behind the plate. Same deal. He has a small strike zone too. But I like how Glavine's going about being very aggressive early in the count, even though he's behind Hardy here.
So that ball strike ratio as he walks Hardy, and you know, Glavine is on his game tonight, and yet his ball strike ratio is about even, 1-1. And that's not unusual for him. And it really works against what our notion of pitching is, that Glavine has been as successful as he's been throwing such a low percentage of strikes.
Well, he does some amazing things, and that is that he's able to make pitches when he has to. And secondly, he does it the opposite, to tell you the truth, when you look at those 3 great pitchers of Atlanta. Schmaltz is the power pitcher, goes right after hitters. So does Maddox, but he goes for contact. And Glavine's just the opposite. Tries to stay out of the hitting area.
Ryan Braun takes in the dirt. Braun fly to right his first time up. So Glavine with a situation to pitch through here after the leadoff walk. He's got the 3 and 4 hitters, both of whom have had great power hitting years. And you see the lowest percentage of strikes by National League pitchers this year, and Glavine is right in that group. Hit hard into left field, and there's the first hit off Glavine. Chased to the line by Alou, who falls down. Hardy goes to third, and that'll enable Braun to go to second. And so the Brewers have second and third and nobody out. It's a double for Ryan Braun, but if Alou had been able to stay on his feet, maybe it wouldn't have been.
Well, good job by Braun. That ball up in the strike zone, one of the few pitches Glavine's elevated so far. And it looked like Alou was trying to circle around this ball to get a better angle to throw this ball to second, keep the double play in order, and just was not able to get there. Those are the kind of things, as you see Hardy go to third, that you miss when you're on a rehab assignment, playing defense out in the outfield.
So the infield is back. They'll concede a run on a ground ball. Prince Fielder the batter. And Glavine comes right inside with the fastball, 0-1. Fielder popped to short his first time up. You got Bill Hall, a right-hand hitter, on deck. So Glavine looking to go after Fielder with second and third and nobody out. Hit on the ground toward the middle. Castillo to his right. A run will score, but Castillo makes a nice play to get Fielder. 1-0 Milwaukee. As Hardy comes in to score and Braun goes to third. And right there, that play, that's why the Mets got Luis Castillo.
And he made that look easy. That was such a difficult play. Looked like a base hit from where we're sitting off the bat. Closed the gap so quickly. And that's short, accurate throw, long, accurate throw by Castillo.
Luis Castillo may not have quite the speed he used to, but he gets great breaks on balls. He's a 3-time Gold Glove winner, and again, he made what was a tough play look easy. Now the infield comes most of the way in for Bill Hall, who grounded out to third his first time up. So it's 1-0 Milwaukee. Fielder gets his 76th run batted in. And now Glavine trying to limit the damage here in the fourth against Hall, who's had something of a disappointing year, particularly power-wise. I mean, Hall hit 35 home runs last year, primarily as a shortstop. They moved him to center field this year, and he really hasn't hit the same way.
How many times have you seen that happen, though? An infielder move to the outfield. They're so concerned being out of place, out of position, that really overtakes all of their efforts, and they end up struggling at the plate. 9 errors in center field so far this year.
Glavine pitching carefully to Hall. If he walks Hall, it sets up the double play possibility with Kevin Mensch waiting on deck. Mensch, a right-hand batter without a whole lot of speed. Braun is at third. He has the only hit for the Brewers. 3-0 to Hall, and he pops it up. Boy, Glavine gets a big break there. Delgado in to make the play. It was a changeup on 3-0. It might have even been ball 4. And Hall went ahead and wailed at it and fouled out to Delgado for the second out.
Well, that's just not knowing your place, knowing that with the base open at first base, Glavine is not going to challenge Hall. The worst thing that happens, he walks and he tries to go after Mensch for the double play. Hall is biting at that low changeup and produces the pop-up, gives Glavine a chance to get out of this with only 1 run.
So Kevin Mensch, the batter, with 2 out. Mensch playing left field. Jeff Jenkins, the regular left fielder, doesn't play much against lefties anymore. Mensch grounded out to short his first time up. And he takes a changeup just off the plate, 1-0.
You know, Gary, a lot of hitters are always concerned on what they're going to do to the pitcher, how they're going to attack the pitcher. Sometimes it's really important to know how the pitcher is thinking and how he wants to attack you, depending on each at bat, depending on each situation.
But doesn't it also have to do with your Bill Hall 35 homers last year. You got 9 home runs 2/3 of the way through the season. I'm sitting 3-0. I'm going to hit the ball to the ballpark.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Gary. You're trying to make up for a mediocre season on one at bat. Can't do it.
2-0 to Mensch. And Glavine misses 3-0. Damian Miller, the catcher, another right-hand hitter on deck. And he throws another 3-0 changeup. This one Mensch takes for a strike, 3-1. So Glavine working the inning, working the lineup, trying to minimize the damage here in the 4th. A run already in. And ball 4. So the second walk of the inning. Now runners at the corners with 2 out for Damian Miller. Here's your Mets upcoming schedule. All Mets home games on SNY are available in HD, presented by IO Digital Cable. 2 more games with the Brewers tomorrow night and Thursday afternoon, then 3 with the Cubs over the weekend before the Mets come home to play the Braves next Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday night. Then they entertain the Marlins over the weekend. If you're in the car, be sure to listen to the Mets on Sports Radio 66 WFAN. So here's the big batter for Glavine, Damian Miller, and he takes off the plate. Glavine thought for sure he had a strike. Boy, his reaction to that was one of frustration as he bent over at the waist.
And you saw Fairchild walking out there, talking to Tommy Glavine, yelling at Tommy Glavine, and that is the want of umpires today.
And Rick Peterson is going to come out and try and calm Glavine down, because Glavine is very upset with that last call.
Well, these are the things that will happen in these games, is that you never see Tommy Glavine ever exhibit any kind of reaction to the umpires. He'll look in, but he won't bend over like he did. And I don't know, Chad Fairchild on a guy going for the 300th win in front of Tommy's parents and all of his relatives. I think it'd be safe for him to just stand behind the plate and call strikes and balls and let the players play the game.
You know, often in important games, Major League Baseball will make sure that you get a veteran behind the plate. Chad Fairchild, a very young, inexperienced umpire at the Major League level.
And I've watched Chad Fairchild umpire, and he's very capable, very good, but it's young, and he's excited too, and that's going to happen in a game. But it's always important to let the players play.
1-0 to Miller, and he swings over the changeup. Now, was that Miller thinking pitching coach goes to the mound, I'm getting a fastball?
Absolutely. I think that he's thinking that Peterson comes out. We've got to get ahead of the hitters. We've been behind everyone. And Tommy Glavine threw a perfect pitch on the outside corner.
1-1 to Miller. And this is away, 2-1. Miller has 18 runs batted in this year. 11 of them came in a 2-game stretch. So he's had 2 good days this year in terms of driving in runs. He's the backup to Johnny Estrada with Milwaukee. And Glavine misses with the fastball to fall behind 3-1. Well, Glavine's walked 3, 2 of them in this inning. You got the number 8 hitter, Tony Graffinino, another right-hand hitter on deck. Glavine, you'll remember in his last start, had trouble with walks early and got out of a big jam in the first. And another 3-1 changeup, and Miller can't find it. 3-2.
Well, I think that's what happens to the hitters, is that Tommy just kind of outlasts you. I mean, at some point you say to yourself, well, he's got to challenge me on this pitch. He didn't. 3-1 change.
Glavine's thrown more balls than strikes so far tonight. Now it's 3-2. Mensch will be running. And Miller loops one into shallow right field, and Green is right there to make the catch. So Glavine is able to limit the damage. The double by Ryan Braun sets up the first run of the game. And now the Mets will try and fight back, down 1-0 as we go to the 5th. We go to the 5th inning. Tom Glavine touched for a run in the bottom of the 4th, but did a great job of making sure they didn't get more than one. Ramon Castro leads off in the top of the 5th. Castro bounced to short his first time up. Jeff Suppan staked to the lead, and Castro grounds one to the hole. Nice diving stop by Braun. He has plenty of time to throw out Castro one away. Well, nice play by Braun, known more for his bat than for his glove. Time for a City Baseball Night in New York update. Let's go to the studio and Matt Yellow.
Well, Gary, you know the Mets and the Brewers have their eyes on the Cubs and the Phillies. First inning of this game, Aramis Ramirez, get out. 2-0 Cubs at that point. It's now 2-1 Cubs in the bottom of the 4th. See more on Geico Sports Night.
All right, Matt, the Cubs actually had a chance to take over first place last night if they could have beaten the Phillies, but they were shut down by Cole Hamels. Cubs have made up 7.5 games in the standings. And they're playing better than anybody in the National League over the last 2 months. Lastings Milledge lined out to right. A sliding play by Corey Hart, and he curls one to second. Graffinino plays that spinner on a hop and throws out Milledge for the second out. So 2 out and nobody on. Ronnie, I know you and I were very sad to hear of the passing of Bill Robinson, former Major League outfielder, but more important to Met fans, former Mets first base coach and hitting instructor, and he was one of the most delightful people I've ever met.
Well, I'll tell you, he's one of the 5 classiest people I've ever met in baseball. Uncle Bill, we used to call him. He was so proud of his position that you could not call him batting coach. He was hitting instructor. And he would take offense if we call him batting coach. He made sure you always wore your uniform right. And, of course, our best goes out to his wife and his family. And it's got to be a tragic time. But, boy, Bill Robinson will be missed. What a great, genuine human being.
And only fitting that Bill passed while working as a hitting instructor. He was working with the Dodgers organization as their minor league hitting instructor.
You know what's amazing about Bill is that he had a lot of work to do, and we were 2 strikes here, but you know, Willie Stargell taught him how to play the game when he was with We Are Family. They won in '79. He tried to impart a lot of that knowledge to Darryl. A lot of it got through, a lot of it didn't, but he'll be sorely missed.
Glavine chops one to third, and Braun comes in and makes the play to end the inning. So Ryan Braun doing it defensively. He also has the only hit off Glavine, and the Brewers have a 1-0 lead. In 2007, Hyundai, the Mets, and SNY are teaming up to strike out cancer. For every K the Mets pitching staff registers, Hyundai, the Mets, and SNY will make a donation to the Hope and Heroes Children's Cancer Fund. If you'd like to help, please go to www.hopeandheroes.org. This year, when you can't be home to watch your Mets on SNY or CW11, check out MLB.TV. Watch every out-of-market Mets game of the season live. Catch those you missed on demand, or listen to every radio broadcast. Sign up today. Visit Mets.com, where baseball is always on. Well, the last pitcher to win his 300th game was Greg Maddux, who was a longtime teammate of Tom Glavine's with the Braves, and we talked about Tom Glavine.
You have to do 2 things to pitch. You got to locate your fastball and change speeds, and make a pitch when the game's on the line. And Glavine's pretty good at locating his fastball and changing speeds, but he's the absolute best in baseball at making a pitch when the game's on the line. And I think that's why he's been able to win so many games. And because you know, come that 5th, 6th, 7th inning, he's always had that thing where he's always made the big pitch when he's had to.
Luis Castillo makes the diving stop and throws out Graffinino, 1 away. Well, Luis Castillo has certainly made his presence felt with the glove in his first start as a Met.
Oh, what a play by Castillo. That ball ticketed for right field. And if there's any talk about his range, there's not many second basemen in baseball that make that play. And what I like about Castillo, he's got the wherewithal. He knows he's got enough time to take his time and make that play.
Wonderful play by Castillo, and that's the first out here in the bottom of the 5th. Jeff Suppan takes ball 1. Suppan struck out trying to bunt his first time up. Well, Omar Minaya made it very clear that the Mets could have lived with Ruben Gotay at second base, particularly his bat. But they needed someone with more range, particularly on a right side of the infield where Delgado just doesn't cover that much ground.
And also, this is not really said a lot, but Castillo's one of the best of all time going back on pop-ups. So he can not only cover Delgado on the ground, but in the air can cover Green on some of those balls that have been dropping in front of Sean. So Castillo both ways can help that Mets defense, and I think also working with Reyes is not going to hurt.
Hit hard to Reyes, gets the charity hop, and throws out Suppan for the second out. So Glavine continues to generate more than his share of ground balls tonight. That's 11 ground ball outs in 5 innings. Well, there are your most recent visitors to the 300 victory plateau. The last to throw a complete game for his 300th win was Sutton. It's a long time ago.
He got that for the Angels, I believe, in Anaheim.
Here's Corey Hart, who's 0 for 2. Twice is grounded to the left side, and he takes a strike.
Well, Gary, tonight is a celebration of pitchers who have won 300. There are 22 pitchers before Tommy. But it shows you what a great accomplishment it is. How many great pitchers never won 300 games.
Start with Sandy Koufax,
Bob Gibson,
Bob Feller,
Ferguson Jenkins,
Jim Palmer,
Carl Hubble.
That's pretty good.
Whitey Ford. I mean, the list goes on and on. That just shows you how great you have to be and consistent in your endurance to get to the 300 plateau.
I mean, when you think about it, you're in an age now where it's awfully tough to win 20 games. And the best you can really hope for on a yearly basis to win 15, 16, 17.
What do they say? The 40 is the new 30? Well, 15 is the new 20 as far as wins for a starting pitcher is concerned. And 15 is a fantastic year. So just do the math. If you win 15 games, you got to do it 20 times to get in that Hallett Hall.
Which is basically how Glavine has gotten there. Now, he's won 20 games a couple of times, but you know, the last 5 years, it's been a lot harder. And he picks up his second strikeout of the night. So Glavine with a strong inning after giving up a run in the 4th. We're on to the 6th in Milwaukee, 1-0 Brewers. Reyes is 0 for 2. He's grounded to short and grounded to second. There have been only 2 hits in this game. David Wright singled in the 1st for the Mets. Ryan Braun doubled in the 4th for the Brewers. 1-0 Milwaukee, and Reyes has the Mets' second hit. Hall gets over to cut it off, makes the slide. Reyes will try for 2. Hall's throw to second gets away from Graffinino, and Reyes in safely with a double. So Reyes trying to jumpstart the Mets offense.
Well, you can see Hall going to his knees. No need to do that. Just backhand the ball so you're in position to make the play. He goes down on his knees, not able to make the play. And once Reyes was going to settle for a single, but once he saw him go down to his knees, he knew to proceed to second. Safe very easily.
25th double of the year for Reyes, and so the Mets have the tying run in scoring position with nobody on. We'll see if Castillo is asked to bunt. He handles the bat very well in these situations. Suppan makes the turn to see if Castillo is going to bunt, and he was not giving it away. Castillo is lined out to left and fouled out to the catcher. He's also contributed a couple of nice defensive plays in his Mets debut. We'll see if he can get Reyes around with the Mets' first run.
You know, it's interesting, Gary. Castillo is so good with the bat. You know he's going to get a fastball probably in this situation. You might want to even let him take a swing on this first pitch because you know you can trust him with 1 strike or 2 strikes to get the ball down.
You got the corners pinching in against Castillo. And he drops the bunt down. Fair ball. Miller has to go to first with it. Tough play for a fielder to pick it off Castillo's head. But he does so, and the sacrifice successful. 2-3.
Oh, just a perfect bunting for him. See him way on top of that bat. Catches it right on the end of the bat, which deadens the ball. Makes Miller field it. No chance at third base, and almost got himself a base hit at first.
Well, he had more infield hits this year than any other American League player. 36 of them with Minnesota before the trade. So now David Wright will try and get the tying run home, and the Brewers are going to bring the infield in. David has singled and walked. He's also stolen a base. And he'll try and get Reyes home from third with 1 out. And he takes a fastball for a strike.
Boy, Wright, when you're pitching him inside like Suppan is, Wright gets so many of those broken bat kind of hits that go in the outfield, tough to play the infield in here, especially with a 1-run lead.
You just open yourself up for that big inning. Little dribbler comes up and hits him in the batter's box, and it's 0-2. Now, the one thing about it, though, is that David has been striking out a lot this year. 88 strikeouts coming into the night, in the top 10 in the league. Suppan has not struck out a batter tonight. Bounced foul. Remember the 6th inning in Game 7 last year? Suppan's not a strikeout pitcher, but when the Mets loaded the bases with 1 out after Andy Chavez had made the catch in the top of the inning, he struck out Valentin with the bases loaded. That was the biggest at bat of that game.
That was the best curveball I've ever seen Suppan throw. He had it down and in to Valentin, and then got Chavez, I think, on the fly ball.
Fouled away. That's what David's done against Suppan in his career. Well, I've been hoping that the Mets can at least get this game tied. Wright has been the best on the ball club, getting a runner in from third with less than 2 out. He's pulled it off 14 out of 19, 74%. 1-2. Mets as a team are getting it in at only 51%. Less than the league average.
Will the league average be about 2/3 of the time?
No, not quite. Over the years, it's been like 58%, and it's more like 55% this year. In tight with the fastball, and it's 2-2.
Well, Suppan had no intention of throwing a strike on that 1-2 fastball inside. That pitch was made to set up the next pitch, probably a breaking ball away. Maybe a changeup down, trying to get him to chase something out of the strike zone.
And Wright won't chase. Miller with a nice stop to prevent the wild pitch, and it's 3-2. Carlos Delgado waiting on deck, and it's almost as though Suppan in this spot would not be heartbroken if he wound up walking Wright.
Suppan, much like Glavine, right, Gary? They will sometimes use the bases that are open, will not give in to a hitter in a certain situation.
1-0 Milwaukee, 6th inning. Reyes at third and 1 out. 3-2 to Wright. Hammered on the ground, base hit, and the Mets tie up the ball game. Reyes trots in to score. David Wright with his 66th run batted in. The Brewers played the infield in, and Wright hit it right by him. And now they've got a chance for a bigger inning.
Just a very interesting play by manager Ned Yost, pulling that infield in with a 1-run lead. That is a stone cold out if the infield is back. Instead, let's have a run in, tie ball game. Wright a steal threat at first base.
A great execution all the way around. Reyes taking the extra base on Hall's slide. Castillo getting down a beautiful bunt, and then Wright falling behind 0-2, working his way back into the count and making the contact he needed to get the run in. So now Wright at first. He's already stolen a base tonight. Delgado is 0 for 2. He's grounded to short and flying to center. Right now with 24 steals and 26 tries. And they're playing pretty much straight up on the infield with a double play situation.
And straight up, what is Suppan able to do? Throw a sinker away, because the infield is playing a little more closer to their real positions. He's allowed to throw that pitch. When they're playing way over, he cannot go to that outside corner.
Wright's not taking too big of a lead. And a pitch out. 1-1 to Delgado. It's hard to try to guess with Wright, because he's not a typical base stealer by any means.
Lined into right center field. That falls for a base hit. Wright read it well. He goes around second and heads for third. And the Mets have runners at the corners with one down. And as this inning progresses, that decision by Ned Yost to play the infield in with Wright at the plate looms larger and larger.
It really does. Back to the well. Suppan with that changeup away. Good job of hitting by Delgado. He's able to get that into center field. And David Wright, that good secondary lead, reads it off the bat, cuts the corner, and makes it easily to third base. That's a tough pitch. You can see that front side's open a little bit, but he's able to keep those hands back just enough. And Delgado is just so unbelievably strong to be able to hit that ball that deep in right center.
So now the Mets are a fly ball away from taking the lead. Moises Alou is flied to right and walked. The infield pulls to the left. A huge hole on the right side of the infield. And Mo takes low, 1-0. Now Alou looking to drive in his first run since coming off the DL. There you see that second baseman Glavine way over towards second base.
And Alou hits it in the air to right. That'll get the run home. Wright tags at third. Hart makes the catch. Wright trots in to score, and the Mets take a 2-1 lead. Moises Alou with a sacrifice fly, his 14th run batted of the season. And Christine Glavine couldn't be happier as Tom Glavine and the Mets now have a 2-1 lead.
Well, Moises Alou, just a professional hitter, gets his fastball, doesn't try to do too much, goes with it, knows he only needs a fly ball to get the run in. This is why he has been an RBI machine his entire career when he stayed healthy. Wright, of course, with the tag up. You saw the third baseman get in front of Wright, so he couldn't see. He had to peek around him and scores the Mets' second run.
Sean Green takes a strike. Well, the Mets have executed perfectly here in the 6th inning. And you know what's the old saying in football? Taking what the defense gives you.
That's right.
And again, if Ned Yost plays the infield back with Wright at the plate, this inning's over and it's a tie game. Instead, the Mets have the lead because they were able to take full advantage and tack on an additional run.
If I'm the manager and my pitcher is a strikeout pitcher, I might do that. I might bring the infield in because he's got nasty enough stuff to maybe get the hitter. But Suppan's a contact pitcher. He gets his outs on ground balls to the infield.
0-2 to Green, and it's up and away. 1-2. So now Glavine has the lead. Now he has to set about trying to keep it. He's going to be facing the tough part of the Milwaukee order in the 6th. Hardy, Braun, and Fielder. As the Brewers bullpen starts to crank, Matt Wise is up. And Green hits one toward the gap in left center field. Hall won't get it. This goes to the wall. It stays in play, and so Delgado turns third and heads home. Relay throw by Glavine to the plate. On a hop, he slides, and he's out. Delgado tried to score from first on the double by Green. Hall picked it up with the bare hand, missed the first cutoff man, but Glavine was there to make the perfect throw home. Miller with the tag. The inning comes to an end, but the Mets score 2 and give Glavine a 2-1 lead.
The Mets Ticket Marketplace is your access to premium seat locations at Shea. Sign up for your membership now at Mets.com.
Take our half-black trivia question for tonight. The last pitcher to earn his 300th win in the city of Milwaukee.
The duck is sure louder after a day off, I'll tell you.
J.J. Hardy takes ball 1. So now Glavine, having been given the lead for the first time tonight, takes on 2, 3, and 4 in the Milwaukee batting order. Hardy, Braun, and Fielder. On the ground is short, and Reyes right in front of it. Throws out Hardy, 1 away. Well, the Mets might have had a larger lead, but for terrific defensive play by the Brewers to end the top of the 6th.
Well, this is how you draw it up. The good hit by Green in the gap. Delgado going first to home. Kind of runs out of gas coming in from third is Delgado, and a beautiful tag by Damian Miller, but the play was made by the good job of Bill Hall in left center field, throwing the ball into the cutoff man. It was over the shortstop Hardy's head, went into the glove of Graffinino. Graffinino in perfect position, piggybacking or backing up his shortstop, got the play in perfect throw to home. Just a thing of beauty.
Ryan Braun has the only hit for the Brewers tonight. He doubled to left in the fourth, and that helped set up the only Milwaukee run. There's a strike, 1-1. You just can't overstate what Braun has done in, well, really in 2 months. He's got 18 homers and 50 RBIs. And he takes the changeup inside 2-1.
Even though he didn't start with the team, it's very Joe Charbonneau-like. I mean, just coming up and getting off to this incredible start. As you see Glavine, only the 3 base on balls, any kind of blemish on that mark so far.
3-1. You know what the scary thing about Braun is? You look at his eyes. You look at Hunter Pence's eyes. Best 2 rookies in the league. They've both got those big, intense eyes. And Glavine walked him. 4th walk given up by Glavine. And so the tying run is aboard with Prince Fielder coming up. We'll check in with the studio. A baseball night in New York update and Matt Yellow.
All right, Gary, Astros and Braves. This game, Craig Biggio getting it done for his team. A 2-run double that brings the Astros within 1 run. It's now 6-4 Atlanta. Mark Teixeira in uniform, available to pinch hit, not in the starting lineup. Gary?
And they haven't needed him so far tonight. McCann, Kelly Johnson, Frank Curl with home runs in that game for the Braves as Prince Fielder takes a strike. That Braves lineup is pretty scary now.
It really is, with Chipper having the kind of season he's having. What a scorecard the other day, looking at the box score. 1-for-1 was Chipper with 5 RBIs.
Fielder drove in the only run with a ground out. 1-1 to Prince Fielder, who now has 76 runs batted in. Bill Hall waiting on deck. Phillies have just gone in front of the Cubs 3-2 in the 6th in Chicago. And Fielder hits it off the end of the bat. Foul, 1-2.
You know, it'd be interesting though, Gary, that Teixeira, who's a fine player, but playing in Atlanta is going to be a lot different than playing in that Texas stadium, because the ball jumps out of there. That is the American League version of Citizens Bank Park in Philadelphia.
Fouled and knocks the mask right off the face of Ramon Castro.
You see the wincing of Ramon Castro.
But you know what, Ronnie, no matter what the Braves get out of Teixeira, they've had the worst first base production of any team in the majors, with Thorman and to a lesser extent now Julio Franco lately. It's going to be a huge boost for them. In the dirt, gets behind Castro, and down to second goes Braun. He takes a wide turn, and Castro taking his time picking that ball up, maybe shaking out the cobwebs after getting nailed a pitch earlier.
Well, he doesn't get all the way down, does Castro. See, tries to really feel this with his glove. The first move on that play, and Ramon will tell you this in a heartbeat, so you got to drop to your knees, drop to the outside, and use your body as a wall to keep that ball in front, to kind of just try to pick that like an infielder.
Tom Glavine does not throw wild pitches. That's his 2nd this year. It's his 4th in the last 4 years. 2-2 to Fielder. First base open. Braun at second and 1 out. Pulled foul.
They're talking about Teixeira. The Braves were not only traded for him, but they were interested in locking him up. He's arbitration eligible next season. He has Atlanta ties. He attended Georgia Tech University.
2-2. Popped up in shallow left center. In comes Alou and Millage, and Alou makes the catch. Millage was calling all the way, but Alou stayed with it, and Lastings had to get out of the way at the last moment.
I don't know if that was calling him off or just saying, hey, I got this, son. Smilage has to give way. Usually, like you said, the center fielder usually has reign over that, but pretty easy play for Moises.
So 2 out. Braun still at second. Bill Hall coming up. Hall is grounded to third and fouled out to first. Remember in the 4th inning, Glavine was kind of pitching around him, threw him a 3-0 changeup, and Hall swung at it and popped up, and that gave Glavine a huge leg up to minimizing the damage in that 4th inning. Brewers got just 1. Mets scored 2 in the top of this 6th inning to take the 2-1 lead. And Hall takes the changeup wide.
You know, before we had that piece from Greg Maddux talking about Glavine, it was almost like he said it with a little envy, that it seems like every time he needs to get a big out, he's able to do it. And that is right in line with Tom Seaver. Said there's 4 or 5 outs every starting pitcher has to get in the course of the game if you're going to have a successful winning effort.
Well, Maddux has been pretty good at that too. And there's Greg's big brother Mike, the pitching coach of the Brewers and a former Met.
But you have to say that Matt's kind of pitcher that is not as much trouble usually as Glavine is. Glavine will work the count, work open bases. Maddux usually goes right straight for contact.
Sometimes they never learn. 2-0 changeup, and Hall's swinging at it again like he's expecting a fastball.
He must have missed the scouting report on Tommy. He swings right through that pitch.
Glavine about to throw his 87th pitch of the night. And he misses low, and now he's behind on Hall, 3-1. One of the questions I had for Tommy was, if you leave with a lead and you don't throw a complete game, what are you going to do? Normally he goes to the clubhouse to watch the rest of the game. He said he will seriously think about coming back out into the dugout. But he hadn't made up his mind as of a couple of days ago. In the dirt, ball 4. And so there's the 5th walk given up by Glavine. He's still allowed only 1 hit, but now 5 free passes. And now with 2 out and 2 on, Kevin Mensch will come up as the Glavine younger set is here, watching Dad tonight.
Well,
and relaying all the details to the folks back home.
Well, they might be spend some time in Atlanta, but they look like they could be Tommy from Bill Ricca about 40 years ago, right?
You know what? They do look very much like Glavine's kid pictures that we showed before. So here's Kevin Mensch, who's grounded to short and drawn a walk. 2 out and 2 on. 2-1 New York, 6th inning. There goes the runner. The pitch outside and no throw as Braun steals third. That's the 10th stolen base for Ryan Braun. Hall, the base runner at first, did not follow.
Well, Braun has 10, as you said, Gary, and he's got good speed, but I think that that one right there, Tommy not paying attention to him at second, just took it from the Mets.
In the air to right field, Green moving over toward the line with the dive, and he made the catch. Sean Green going into foul ground and making the dive right near the sidewall. Terrific play by Sean Green to end the inning. Glavine's got defensive help tonight. First Castillo and now Green disappearing, but hanging on. 2-1 New York. Ramon Castro, 7th inning against Jeff Suppan, and takes a strike. Castro's 0 for 2. He's grounded to short and grounded to third. Ryan Braun robbed him with a diving play his last time up. Two 2-0 to Castro. He smacks one foul. Castro's had a hit in each of his last 11 starts. In fact, you go back his last 16 games overall, he's hitting .447. I've said this before, but Ramon, when he was drafted, was always expected to be a big offensive player. And that's inside, and it hit him. Trying to get out of the way of it, and it hit him and not the bat. And so Castro aboard to start the 7th inning. The 8th batter Suppan has hit this year. And the Mets have a leadoff base runner for the 2nd straight inning.
Well, this ball running inside, Castro tried to get out of the way, but that big forearm got in the way. Just got him on the other side, missed the bat.
Let's check in with Kevin Burkhardt. Kevin?
Guys, Tom Glavine had 30 guests on his invite list tonight. I'm with 2 of them, and both were with the Braves when Tommy was there. Dave Pursley, former trainer. Joe Chandler, former team doctor. Dave, how do you become friendly with a guy who's never in the training room?
Well, he was in the training room. You know, we got to watch him from the time he was a young man and struggling, and watched him grow up and become a man, become a great pitcher. And he used to ask me all the time when he was struggling, you know, because we were struggling. Said, you know, the only one who can help you is yourself. You got to figure it out how to do it. He's a very intelligent person and a real gamer.
Joe, what impressed you the most about Tommy when the time you spent with him in Atlanta?
I think one of the big impressions I have of Tommy is just his hard work and determination. People talk about him not having been on the disabled list in a 21-year career and think that that's lucky or fortunate. It's a product of an incredible hard work, just dogged determination on his part, and a lot of hard work. People like the man to my left, Dave Pursley, and Jeff Porter, the trainers. I mean, but Tom has worked as hard as any ball player I've ever seen in the entire time that I've taken care of professional baseball players.
Guys, nice to have you here. I'm sure Tommy's glad you're here, too. Thanks for the time.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, back upstairs to you.
All right, thanks very much, Kevin. There's Glavine in the on-deck circle. Now, Aaron Heilman is up in the Mets bullpen, but Glavine's thrown just 90 pitches, and so you have to figure he will bat here in the top of the 7th. Millage is 0 for 2. He's lined to right and grounded to second. And Lastings takes the fastball in tight. The Brewers have their bullpen going as well. There you see Heilman up in case the Mets decide to pinch hit for Glavine, but it's hard to see a scenario where they would here, especially with a runner on and Glavine's ability to bunt. Carlos Villanueva up in the Brewers bullpen. Chopped slowly toward third. Braun with a tough play against Millage's speed. Out! Very close play. Millage thought he was safe. But Ryan Braun with another fine defensive play.
Well, I talked about him having 14 errors to lead the Brewers so far this year, but 2 fine plays so far. This one coming in, throwing off the wrong foot, still getting enough on it to get Millage at first base.
It looked like a good call.
Yeah, it seemed like he was still in the air. It seemed like Millage got caught in between half-stepping there at first base.
So here's Glavine, even though it's now not a bunting situation with a runner at second and 1 out. Glavine's been up twice, grounded out both times. Fresh off his pinch hitting performance Saturday night. And he takes ball 1. By the way, this is milestone night in baseball, not just Glavine going for his 300th win, but Barry Bonds hoping to tie Hank Aaron, Alex Rodriguez hoping to hit his 500th home run, and A-Rod has not. But the Yankees have hit 8 home runs tonight in their game against the White Sox. 8, but none by A-Rod. Well, those milestones, 300 wins, 3,000 hit, 500 home runs, all emblematic of automatic Cooperstown consideration. At least they always have been. 500 home runs may be looked at a little differently in this era. Glavine takes a strike.
Well, those 500 home runs are certainly going to change over the course of time, but I've always equated career-wise 100 wins with 1,000 strikeouts, 200 wins with 2,000 strikeouts, and the same for 300 and 3,000. I just think that, you see the type of player that gets to those wins, and the 100 and the 1,000 are very adequate, good, solid major league performers. When you get to 200 and 2,000, you talk about some real special kind of players. And then when you get to 300 and 3,000, of course, you're talking about the elite.
So you're saying 100 wins, 1,000 hits.
It's the best way to rate kind of excellence for hitters versus pitchers.
2-2 to Glavine. Line the other way, off the glove of Braun. He's still got a play to make, but he throws off the bag, and safe at first is Glavine. Well, Braun still had plenty of time after he retrieved that ball, but his throw pulled fielder off. Castro held at second.
Well, give Glavine a lot of credit for hustling all the way down that first base line, making Braun rush that throw just a bit, and pulling Fielder off the bag as he just finds it in time, rushes the throw a bit, runs up the line, and Glavine with that hustle, I mean, he just does all the little things. As you see, it's off the glove. After a delay of a second, gets on his horse and beats that out.
So it's an error on Braun for pulling Fielder off the bag. So his error total continues to rise even on a night when he's made a couple of nice plays. That's 15 errors for Braun. That's in a little over 2 months. He's got the most on the Brewers team. So Mets with a chance to increase their lead here. That's the second Milwaukee error of the night. Reyes is 1 for 3, doubled and scored in the 6th inning. And he lines one into center field for a base hit. Castro goes to third. He'll be held there by Sandy Alomar as Hall hits the cutoff man, and now the Mets have the bases loaded and 1 out. So Reyes has his 2nd hit of the night. And a chance for Luis Castillo, but perhaps against a new pitcher.
Well, nice hitting here by Jose Reyes as he waits for that changeup, but when you've got Castro and Glavine on the base, it's almost like playing video baseball. It's kind of base to base.
There was no thought of even thinking about bringing Castro home. Suppan is done. And we'll have a pitching change as Carlos Villanueva was getting ready in the Milwaukee bullpen. This call to the bullpen brought to you by Verizon. Switch to Verizon Fios TV, internet, phone. It's the most advanced fiber optic at Miller Park in Milwaukee. Catch all the action on the Kia Wednesday game of the week. Mets Brewers coverage begins tomorrow at 7. The Kia Wednesday game of the week only on SNY. Carlos Villanueva takes over the pitching for the Brewers.
Well, Villanueva has really struggled his last 10 appearances. High ERA, almost 10. But he's had a good year, 6 wins, and he has 67 strikeouts in 70 innings pitched. That's one of the reasons he's in the game here with 1 out.
Luis Castillo up with the bases loaded and 1 out. And he takes a strike from Villanueva. Castillo 0 for 2 in his Mets debut, but he's contributed defensively, and he's contributed with a sacrifice bunt that helped put together the Mets' 2-run 6th inning. And he loops one foul back into the crowd. It's 0-2. Castillo's had 4 career at bats against Villanueva, and he's got 2 hits. Castro at third, hard to get him home on a fly ball, especially as shallow as they play against Castillo in the outfield. Castillo drove in just 18 runs with the Twins this year, 349 at bats. Check-swing foul ball.
Well, the hitting style of Castillo is almost with 2 strikes. He kind of brings that bat into the strike zone and kind of decides the ball is coming, whether he's going to swing or not. And if he doesn't swing, it's a tough pitch. Like his bat's there to follow it off as it did that pitch from Villanueva.
Well, he's always been a very tough hitter to strike out. And that's what Villanueva wants right now. The slider misses inside, 1-2. David Wright waiting on deck. It's not a particularly good percentage of runners stranded. And Castillo takes it outside, 2-2.
In fact, in his last outing on Sunday, Villanueva allowed 3 inherited runners to score against the St. Louis Cardinals.
Carlos Villanueva, originally signed with the Giants, picked up by the Brewers 3 years ago. They used him as a starter a little bit last year, but exclusively out of the bullpen this year. 2-2 to Castillo. Looped in the air, shallow left field. In comes Mensch playing very shallow, and that served him well. And we mentioned they play shallow against Castillo in the outfield. If they hadn't, the ball might have been a base hit. Instead, it's the 2nd out, and the runners have to hold.
Well, Castillo, it's very easy to tell when he struggles in a game, because if he's hitting the ball in the air, not a good night for him. He wants to hit the ball on the ground or line drives. Use that speed.
Gary Cohen, Ron Darling, Kevin Burkhardt with you from Miller Park in Milwaukee. Tom Glavine trying for his 300th win tonight, and the Mets have gotten him a 2-1 lead. Looking for more here in the 7th with the bases loaded and 2 out, and David Wright at the plate against Carlos Villanueva, and he takes the slider off the plate 1-0. David 2 for 2 and a walk tonight. He's stolen a base, he's driven in a run, he's scored a run, has that batting average back up over 300. Now has 7 hits in his last 9 at bats. Foul tips one into the mid of Miller, up 0-2. Check it, it's 1-1. Jeff Suppan went 6 1/3, allowed 6 hits and the 2 runs so far. He's responsible for all 3 runners on base. And Wright takes a good fastball for a strike, 1-2.
Well, good pitch by Villanueva coming in. Can he double up inside? Takes a brave pitcher to do that. A lot of times after that fastball inside, they tend to go away with the slider.
Breaking ball misses. 2-2.
Well, good take by David Wright right there. Chad Fairchild's had a pretty tight strike zone.
Breaking ball hit on the ground toward the middle, but Hardy cuts it off and gets the flip to second in time to force Reyes and end the inning. So the Mets get a hit, an error, and a hit batsman, but they do not score. Tom Glavine going to the bottom of the 7th, leading 2-1, trying for his 300th win tonight. Glavine's best friend in baseball is his former teammate, John Smoltz.
He's very stoic, maybe non-emotional, and that's the reason he's been able to be successful. And it's like, oh, by the way, he won 20 again. You know, he's not flashy. Nothing pops out like you're going to be awed by what he does, and yet he's going to win 300 games and be one of the best left-handers in the history of the game. And so that speaks volumes for work ethic and determination and luck and good mechanics and all the things that you can put in between. And I just admire what he's done and how he's done it. And for that, he'll be in the Hall of Fame.
And that, my friends, is an understatement.
Oh.
From another guy who's going to be in the Hall of Fame.
Absolutely what he's done, not only as a starter, but in relief. John Smoltz, one of the classy dudes in baseball, I'll tell you that.
Damian Miller 0 for 2, and he takes the changeup outside. Well, we talk about only 22 pitchers have won 300 games. Only 4 left-handers have ever won 300 games. And there's the list, led by Warren Spahn. Spahn won his 300th in 1961. Since then, there have been 10 more pitchers win 300 games. Only 3 of them won it on their first try. Steve Carlton, Tom Seaver. Swung and missed by Miller, and it's 2-2. And Gaylord Perry also won it in his first try.
Oh, Lord.
Glavine trying to do that tonight. Heilman continues to throw in the bullpen, and Miller shoots one up the middle. And the Brewers have a leadoff base runner in the bottom of the 7th. So Damian Miller got the change up and hit it up the middle, and the tying run is aboard.
Well, Glavine mad at himself. He thought he should have made this pick. Pull it up the middle by Damian Miller. You see Tommy's reaction. The best fielding pitchers in baseball thought he should have had that one, but Miller on first base.
Well, that may be all for Glavine. It looks like Willie Randolph. Well, maybe not. Let's see. This is the first time Willie's gone to the mound in a long time. You see, he does not have the sling on his right shoulder anymore. But we'll see if this is a temperature taking or if this is indeed a pitching change. And Glavine is done. So he will leave it in the hands of his bullpen. After 95 pitches and 6 innings plus, a huge ovation in Milwaukee for Tom Glavine. A great reaction from these fans on the road, and now Glavine can only sit and watch. will have to settle for 6 innings plus and trust the bullpen to get the final 9 outs in a 1-run game. Aaron Heilman, the first man out of the bullpen for the Mets.
Well, Heilman, of course, in the homestand gave up that big 2-run double to Ronnie Belliard, but he has been outstanding as of late.
Well, Glavine will sit and watch the end of this inning. Then his custom would be to go in the clubhouse, get iced, and watch the rest of the game there. We'll see what transpires from here. Tony Graffinino, the number 8 hitter. Craig Counsell out on deck to pinch hit. So we'll see if the Brewers try to bunt that tying run to second in a 2-1 game in the 7th. Graffinino 0 for 1. He's walked and grounded out. Mets are hedging their bets as far as their defense is concerned. Well, Heilman gave up those inherited runners on that Belliard double the other night. That's been a rarity for him. Not bunting. Grounder to Delgado. Gets the out at second. Reyes the return. In time. 3-6-3 double play. Ned Yost sustains the bunt, and the Mets turn 2.
Well, good job by Carlos Delgado, not only with that good backhand, the throw to Reyes a little high, the return a little high, but still enough time to get Graffinino. Hit that ball awfully hard to the right side. Right play by Graffinino trying to hit behind the runner, but it did not work out with the defense of Delgado.
So a huge double play. Now 2 out and nobody on, and Craig Counsell will pinch hit. And he drags a bunt. Castro pounces on it. 2 out. A bunt single for Craig Counsell.
Well, surprise here by Counsell, dragging that, gets it off the end of the bat. Once Heilman could not make that play, Castro could not. The one thing about LaDuca you lose out of the catcher spot is that quickness to make those plays in front. Castro, of course, a little more lumbering than Paul LaDuca.
Dangerous spot here with Corey Hart up. Hart has 16 home runs this year. Tying run at first and 2 down. 2-1 New York, 7th inning. And Hart lays off the fastball. It's a strike, 0-1. Hart is 0 for 3 tonight. Couple of ground outs and a strikeout. Full house here at Miller Park. And it was very heartwarming, the ovation that Glavine got here from just about everybody in this big crowd when he departed. So you get a sense that at least part of the sellout here is the fact that Glavine is going for number 300, and that's not all Met fans. That's Milwaukee fans wanting to be a part of history. And Hart takes another fastball for a strike. 96 miles an hour from Heilman, 0-2.
First one at 95. You know, Gary, even though the anxiety level for Glavine a little higher for this start, certainly is for the bullpen too, as I'm sure their heart is thumping a couple of beats a little quicker, trying to preserve this win for Glavine.
Billy Wagner told me today he already has it in his mind how he's going to hand the ball to Glavine if he's able to get the save and secure win number 300. Hold it out with 2 hands like it's on a silver platter. There goes Counsell, pulled on the ground toward third. It's a foul ball. And so Counsell will return.
Ironic, because nothing was given to Glavine on a silver platter, as his dedication, his consistency, his work ethic, his ability to pitch through pain. When you make 668 starts in a row, there's got to be starts that you do not belong on that mound. But he went out there, toughed it out. And when you're going for these milestones, no one wants to be around you for some reason, as he's had a lonely night there on the bench.
What could you say to him?
Yeah.
Heilman ahead on Hart, 0-2. The Brewers have had just 3 hits tonight. 1-2 to Hart.
And, you know, I have to give a lot of credit to Tom and the Mets, because we've seen this year, but in times past, that these milestones become bigger than the game or the team or the win. And Tommy's never allowed that to happen.
This is a team in a pennant race. And I think that was part of Loduca's understanding. If the circumstances had been different, he would have gone out there tonight. But he understands that the team can't afford to lose him for a longer period of time. There goes Counsell. Pulled on the ground is short. Reyes will have to go to first. And that retires the side. So Heilman comes on, gets a huge double play off Graffinino's bat. And Glavine could go ice his arm as we go to the 8th. 2-1 New York. Let's answer our Aflac trivia question for tonight. The last pitcher to earn his 300th win in the city of Milwaukee, not at Miller Park, but at County Stadium 17 years ago. It was Nolan Ryan. Well, this has been quite a night as Tom Glavine has lived up to the occasion, pitched a terrific 6 innings plus. Would have liked to have gone further, I'm sure, but what a performance, allowing just 2 hits and 1 run.
I think you have to manage, too, as a manager, that the emotion that Glavine pitched with tonight. We saw him argue a strike call. You never see that. See him react to not making a play. Just that emotion kind of builds up, and sometimes that takes some of that physical energy away from you. As Derek Turnbow comes in to pitch for the Milwaukee Brewers. Turnbow, who was the closer for Milwaukee as of 2005, when he had an amazing year with 39 saves, 24 last year. Of course, has lost that job to Francisco Cordero, and now is a kind of a setup man, long relief man, wears many hats.
Carlos Delgado had a big base hit for the Mets in the 6th to produce to set up the second Met run. And go back to that 6th inning when the Mets were down 1-0, had the tying run at 3rd and 1 out, and Ned Yost chose to bring the infield in against David Wright, who promptly chopped one past the drawn-in infield to get the tying run home, and eventually scored the go-ahead run after Delgado singled on Alou's sacrifice fly. And that right now, that decision by Ned Yost right now is the difference in this game.
We've had a couple decisions. That was the difference there, Gary. And then just offensively, had a chance to maybe use Graffinino to bunt and get the runner in scoring position, allows him to swing away, ends up in a double play. Brewers had 2 hits in that inning, no runs.
2-1 to Delgado. Well, the Brewers bullpen has really been struggling lately. 30 for 38 in save opportunities before the break, only 6 for 11 since the break. They had 3 blown saves on their 8-game road trip that they just finished, and they went 2-6 on that trip. Lost a couple of games in walk-off fashion. Delgado bounces one foul at the plate.
You know, Gary, I think that's a combination of a couple things. One is that that bullpen was so good in the first month and a half, 2 months of the season, almost perfect. And secondly, the culmination of their starting pitching not going deep into ball games. You have to overuse your bullpen, and at some point that bullpen's going to snap, and when it snaps, it's going to have a stretch where it does not perform well, and I think that's really what happened to the Brewers. Ben Sheets.
The Brewers made a deal for a relief pitcher right before the deadline. They picked up Scott Linebrink from San Diego, but he's not here tonight. As Delgado goes down swinging, Turnbow using the off-speed pitch to get Delgado for the first down. Linebrink is home with his wife, who just gave birth to their first child. He's expected back on Thursday. So the Brewers are 1 short in that bullpen.
Well, that was just indecision from Carlos's part. There was a high slider from Turnbow that didn't really break. Once he recognized the break, he thought he was going to break a little more, and it didn't.
So 1 away. Here's Moises Alou. By the way, the Brewers trying to hold off the Cubs in the National League Central, while the Mets are trying to hold off the Phillies in the East. And those 2 teams are playing each other tonight. And the Cubs, by virtue of scoring 3 runs in the bottom of the 6th, now lead the Phillies 5-3. That game now in the bottom of the 7th at Wrigley. If the Cubs win and the Brewers lose tonight, the Cubs will move into first place after falling, what, 8.5 back. a month and a half ago. The interesting thing about that Central race is that the Cardinals all of a sudden are within hailing distance, just 6 games out.
And they're starting to get some people back. I think the problem with the Cardinals, though, is they don't have that big horse of theirs, that ace of a pitcher. Chris Carpenter is now out for the season. Reconstructive elbow surgery, I believe.
2-0 to Alou. And Moises takes high and tight 3-0. The Cardinals made one move at the deadline today. They picked up Joel Pinheiro to try and help them out in the bullpen, although who knows, maybe they moved him to the rotation. He's been relieving for the Red Sox.
But of course was a starter for Seattle for many years.
Three 3-0 to Alou. And ball 4. So the Mets have a 1-out base run. Well, Tom Glavine is front and center tonight. The Mets' other ace, Pedro Martinez, takes the center stage tomorrow, not here in Milwaukee, but down in Port St. Lucie, Florida, where Pedro will make his first start on his 30-day rehab assignment. And in order to bring it to you on SNY, we'll have an extended pregame show starting at 7 o'clock tomorrow. Chris Cotter is down there in Port St. Lucie, and we'll bring you all the action of Pedro's first rehab assignment tomorrow night on an extended pregame show beginning tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. Sean Green swings and misses at the fastball from Turnbow. Green doubled to the gap in left center in the 6th. Delgado tried to score from first but was thrown out. The Brewers will have their big hitters coming up in the bottom of the 8th. Mets would love to get themselves some insurance as the breaking ball misses low 1-1. With Hardy, Braun, and Fielder coming up for a Brewers team that leads the National League in home runs. Popped up. Hardy retreating, Mensch coming in, and Hardy takes charge, 2 away. Alou back to first. Green retired, and it'll bring up Ramon Castro. Castro hit on the arm by a pitch his last time up. Remember, the Mets loaded the bases in the 7th inning with 1 out. But Carlos Villanueva came out of the bullpen, got Castillo to pop up and Wright to ground into a fielder's choice. So the Mets have had a couple of chances to increase their lead, but have been unable to do so. And that won't make Tom Glavine's nerves any less frayed. You know, if you're going for a milestone like this, I mean, most milestones in baseball you get to accomplish yourself, whether it's a home run or a base hit, a save. But as a starting pitcher, once you're out of the game, you have no control anymore. 1-1 to Castro.
So you can be sitting on the bench and the last out is made and you're happy, but it would have been great to be out there, of course. But you know, the game's changed. It's not like that anymore. So to expect a complete game on your milestone type win, it's just not going to happen.
Or any time for that matter. 1-1 to Castro. And Turnbow throws over, chasing Alou back. But it's just, I would imagine as a starting pitcher, as long as you're in the game, you feel like you have some control. It's sitting there and watching when you don't have control, and yet it's your win that's on the line. That's got to be much more nerve-wracking.
I think it's much worse. And I think right now, I mean, you're rooting for your relief pitchers, but right now you're rooting for Ramon Castro to get a fat fastball from Turnbow and turn it around and stay hot and give your relief pitchers some room to work.
Castro lifts one along the right field line. The second baseman Graffinino with the angle, and that retires the side. So Turnbow comes on and throws a hitless 8th. Now the Mets have to contend with the big hitters, Hardy, Braun, and Fielder. Eyes on Tom Glavine tonight as he takes his first crack at his 300th career victory. And Glavine was terrific. Got some help from the newest Met. David Wright driving in a run to get the game even, and Moises Alou giving the Mets the lead. The rest on Glavine and the defense and the bullpen and his family. Glavine allowed just 2 hits over 6 innings plus. He's in line for that historic win, but now he's got to count on his bullpen to nail it down. Your Toyota out-of-town scoreboard. Ryan Zimmerman, a 3-run double in the 5th for the Nationals in their win. Adam Wainwright gets his 10th win for the Cardinals. Aaron Cook pitched into the 8th inning for the Rockies in their win. The Braves get 2 home runs from Kelly Johnson to beat the Astros. J.J. Hardy leading off in the bottom of the 8th inning. In a 1-run ball game, Hardy walked and scored the only Brewers run back in the 4th. Otherwise 0 for 2. And now Heilman behind him, 2-0. The rest of your Toyota scoreboard. The Cubs have increased their lead. They're up on the Phillies now 7-3 in the 8th inning. Diamondbacks and Brewers, Giants and Dodgers. Barry Bonds has already struck out against Brad Penny. There's a strike, and it's 2-1. So the Mets, if they can win tonight, might have a chance to increase their lead, with the Cubs leading the Phillies 7-3 in the 8th as Mota and Feliciano get ready. And Hardy swings and misses the fastball, 2-2. And Heilman is throwing hard tonight.
Boy, 96 miles an hour as he has that adrenaline rush of trying to save this game for Glavine.
2-2 to Hardy. With low and a full count to J.J. Hardy with Ryan Braun and Prince Fielder to follow. So it will not be easy. Blooped, shallow center. Reyes going out, and he can't get it. It falls in for a hit, and Hardy's aboard with a bloop single to start the bottom of the 8th. Reyes gave it every ounce he had, and just came up shy.
With that great speed, that's the only reason he even got close to this play. Hard to tell from this angle, but it looked like he just missed it just off his fingertips of his glove.
So now the tying run aboard with nobody out. And Ryan Braun, you certainly don't expect him to be bunting. Braun with a double and a walk tonight. He's also stolen a base. 18 home runs and 50 runs batted in just over 2 months for Ryan Braun. So Heilman's got his work cut out for him here, trying to protect Glavine's 2-1 lead.
This is where you'd love to see that new double play combo of Reyes and Castillo come to form.
And Braun takes a strike. Prince Fielder waiting to follow. Feliciano getting ready for Fielder. And Heilman just misses with that fastball, 1-1. Heilman not a guy who gets a whole lot of ground balls. But he got a ground ball double play in the last inning off the bat of Graffinino. Little foul, and it's 1-2. Sellout crowd in Milwaukee, 41,790, and this one has kept everybody on the edge of their seat. One-two. Inside and low, 2-2. Keep in mind the Brewers have the best home record in the major leagues this year, and in fact the best home record over the last 3 seasons. So while they come off a poor road trip, this is a place where they generally expect to win. Tommy's icing his arm. Christine can't turn away. Hardy, not a whole lot of speed at first base. And now Heilman wants to talk to Castro.
Well, usually this is not a problem with the guy in first. Usually it's a fastball or a changeup away from Heilman. Obviously might want to double up on Braun inside after just missing with that fastball in.
Heilman, of course, facing Braun for the first time. Two and two to Braun. In the air, shallow left. Alou, who is playing very deep, comes in, plenty of time. And that's the first out. So Ryan Braun retired. 1 out and 1 on. And now with Fielder coming up, here comes Willie Randolph. This is the first night that Willie's been able to make pitching changes since the All-Star break when he had that shoulder surgery. He's got Feliciano ready in the bullpen, and this is Feliciano's role to get the big lefty out. And there's no bigger lefty than the guy coming up for the Brewers. Heilman exits. Aaron Heilman worked an inning and a third, now hands it off to Pedro Feliciano.
Well, Feliciano has been outstanding all year long. Has seen his ERA jump in his last couple outings, especially in the second game against Washington, where he gave up 3 runs in only 2/3 of an inning, but has not been in top form. He's going to have to be against Prince Fielder.
Fielder 0 for 3. He's driven in a run with a ground out, and he takes the fastball off the plate, 1-0. Fielder, who leads the National League in home runs, but has now gone 66 at bats without a home run. And Feliciano, who's been struggling with his control the last couple of outings, has fallen behind 2-0. That lead for Fielder is shrinking. Ryan Howard has really picked it up. Big pitch here for Feliciano behind 2-0. Fouled or fair, and Castro tags out Fielder. Now wait a second, the second base umpire is signaling that it came off Fielder's foot. The home plate umpire, Chad Fairchild, said fair ball, but the base umpires all saw that it was a foul ball.
Well, Prince is a big man, so after he hits this, Fairchild is blocked out. That this ball comes up and hits him right in the right thigh. Fairchild trying to get a view of it, but that's a big man. You can't see around that big guy.
All 3 of the base umpires were aware, though, that it had hit him. 2-1 to Fielder. Inside and hit him. And Fielder gets drilled on the right elbow. And he is angry. That pushes the tying run to second base. So Feliciano just not able to throw the ball where he wants to right now. And that hurt him, and it also hurt Prince Fielder. And that's the only batter that Pedro's going to face. Brought in to face the lefty, and last 3 outings now have been a struggle for Feliciano. So it's Guillermo Mota who will be called upon here to try and get Bill Hall out with the tying and lead runs on base here in the bottom of the 8th. Mets trying to patch together the final 5 outs for Glavine. Mota next on the docket. Pedro Feliciano's control has eluded him his last 3 outings. And so it's up to Guillermo Mota to try and keep the Brewers from tying the game here in the bottom of the 8th.
Well, Mota has been a little better as of late also. His last outing, an inning of relief against Washington, a base on balls and a strikeout, no runs allowed. But it's just been hard for the Mets bullpen has been so strong. They don't really have anyone that really comes out of that bullpen that can get that ground ball that you need to get a double play. More of contact strikeout type of pitchers for the Mets coming out of the bullpen.
Well, they had that last year in Chad Bradford. Yes. And they were supposed to have it this year in Scott Schoenweiss. But Schoenweiss, for the most part, has not had the sinker that he would like, although he's been far more effective lately. So Bill Hall is the batter. Now Hall is 0 for 5 in his career against Mota. And tonight he's 0 for 2 and a walk. But he is a dangerous hitter with a lot of power. 35 home runs last year. Hardy the tying run at second. Fielder at first and 1 out. And Hall rips one deep toward the left field corner. It's fair and up over the wall for a ground rule double. The Brewers tie the game. Tom Glavine will not win his 300th tonight.
Well, this is the problem you have when you come in and your first pitch is a changeup. It's a changeup off of what? Nothing. Because you haven't thrown a fastball to Hall, so he hasn't seen that 95-mile-an-hour throw. And Glavine's kids, of course, don't want to see that. That makes me want to cry.
Well, it means a trip to Chicago Sunday night, which will be Glavine's next shot at career win number 300. Now the Mets must just focus on winning the game. Forget about who the winning pitcher is, as the Brewers have rallied to tie it. Mota will be intentionally walking Kevin Mensch to load the bases with Damian Miller, the next batter, hoping to get a double play. So a bloop single by J.J. Hardy started the inning against Heilman, who then got Ryan Braun to fly out. Feliciano hit Fielder with a pitch, and on the first pitch thrown by Guillermo Mota, Bill Hall rips a double to drive in the tying run. And now Jorge Sosa up alongside Scott Schoenweiss in the bullpen. Sosa is scheduled to be the starting pitcher here on Thursday afternoon. That's an interesting turn of events. Remember, the Mets are 1 shy in the bullpen. They're carrying an extra position player right now because of the dicey status of LaDuca's hamstring. So instead of the regular 7 relievers, they're right now carrying only 6. And they've already used 3 of them tonight. Damian Miller with the bases loaded and 1 out. The Mets play the infield at double play depth. Miller a slow runner. He's 1 for 3 tonight. Singled his last time up.
That's what we talked about. Mota only 1 double play ground out in 23 opportunities. Heilman 1 in 36 opportunities coming into this game.
Miller lays off 1-0. Fielder, Hall, and Mensch the base runner. Fastball strike. 1-1. 98 miles an hour from Mota. That gun may be a shade fast. Castro having a backhanded to keep it from going to the backstop. 2-1. Willie Randolph has tried to piece together his bullpen in the 7th and 8th, but they've been unable to hold the lead for Glavine, who was in line for his 300th win, but no longer. 2-1 to Miller. Swing and a miss at the fastball. So after getting beat by Hall on the changeup, Mota throwing 3 straight fastballs to Miller.
Well, when you throw 98, 97 miles an hour, such a weapon. One that you can't get rid of is, well, you can just imagine how she feels.
2-2 to Miller. He struck him out. Foul tipped and held by Castro. So on the changeup, Miller goes down for the 2nd out. And Ned Yost is going to come out to argue that that foul tip hit the ground. And perhaps Fairchild will ask for help. Ned Yost, a former catcher.
Let's take a look. And Ned Yost is right.
He's got a case. Now will Fairchild ask the base umpires for help? Apparently not.
Fairchild, I saw his lips move. He said, "I don't have to." That's a very interesting approach to take.
Well, the Mets going to break there, because that ball certainly on replay appeared to hit the ground, which means that the at-bat should still be alive. Strange happenings. So now Tony Graffinino, the number 8 hitter. So Mota got the advantage of that call. Now he'll try and take advantage. And Graffinino takes a fastball wide. Graffinino has walked, grounded out on a spectacular play by Castillo, and then in the 7th inning, asked to swing away in a possible bunting situation, grounded into a 3-6-3 double play against Heilman. And he drives one deep to left field. Alou going back near the wall. He makes the catch. Graffinino making a bid for a grand slam, but he came up short, and that keeps the game tied. The Brewers rally against the Mets bullpen to deny Glavine his 300th win. 2-2 going to the 9th. The Brewers bring on their closer, Francisco Cordero, into the 9th inning of a tie game.
Well, we showed the stat before that they have struggled as of late, but Cordero, especially the first part of the season, is one of the reasons that Milwaukee's still in first place. You can see that 36 hits, 42 innings pitched, 46 games this season, 32 saves for the Milwaukee Brewers.
Lastings Millage will lead off. Marlon Anderson out on deck to pinch hit, and then Jose Reyes in the top of the 9th. Mets trailed 1-0, led 2-1. Tom Glavine left after 6 innings plus with a chance for his 300th win, but the Brewers able to rally and tie it against the Mets bullpen in the 8th. And the first pitch way inside to Millage, 1-0. And I have to tell you, when Tony Graffinino's ball left his bat, I think everybody in this ballpark thought the Brewers had a 4-run lead.
Well, he must have caught it off the end, because I was with you. As soon as he hit it, I said, "Oh no."
Millage with a big cut, and it's 1-1. Here's Graffinino.
Maybe off the end, but Graffinino thinks it's out too.
He's had a rough day. He was robbed by Castillo. He hit that hard shot into the double play, and then he came up just a few feet shy of a grand slam for the native Long Islander against his hometown team. 1-2 to Millage, who started the day with a 9-game hitting streak. 0 for 3 today, and about to be 0 for 4 as Graffinino moves in under it, and Hart and Graffinino come together, but Graffinino hangs on. So a little miscommunication there.
You know, I see this happen more and more, and it's got to be that, you know, the outfielders have to take charge earlier. I think what is happening is that the outfielders are trying to decide at the last minute, and once that second baseman or shortstop going towards that line in foul territory, once they get their eyes locked on that and they've called it, they're not going to hear that outfielder.
I found out something very interesting about Marlon Anderson today. Marlon travels with his own pine tar rag. I've never heard of a Major League Baseball player having his own pine tar rag. Marlon does. And that's a foul ball. It just missed the first base bag.
You got to keep it away from the Sox.
Well, I asked him why, and he said, well, most guys today either use the spray or they use a very thin pine tar, kind of a liquidy one. He said, I like the old school thick pine tar. Wow. And so he's got a little plastic pouch with his own pine tar rag that he keeps in his locker. I never heard of a player having his own before. I mean, I'm sure he doesn't put it in with his, you know, his civilian clothes.
You better not. He'll end up with the Exxon Valdez in there if you don't watch yourself. It'll be all over the.
0-2 to Anderson. And Cordero misses low. Francisco Cordero coming over from the Rangers at the trading deadline last year, and he has had a terrific year for the Brewers as Sosa continues to loosen in the Mets bullpen. Struck him out. 2 out and nobody on.
Well, good slider from Cordero. That is the pitch he uses for his strikeouts. Anderson down, and with Sosa and Wagner throwing, if the Mets were to get ahead, surely Wagner would be in the game. But it looks like Sosa, if it's tied, will have the job of keeping the Brewers off the scoreboard.
Well, the only other pitchers available in that bullpen are Schoenweiss and Seeley. Again, the Mets are 1 shy in the bullpen. All year they've been carrying 12 pitchers. Now they're carrying 11 with Mike DeFelice here because they're concerned about LaDuca and his hamstring. So flexibility, which was a problem with the bench a few days ago, now more of a problem in the bullpen, and that's why Sosa is out there. So here's Reyes, who has singled and doubled tonight, 2 for 4. And he takes low from Cordero, 1-0. Reyes with 7 home runs on the year, and with 2 out and nobody on. Perhaps thinking long ball. Cordero, though, has given up only 1 home run this season. 2-0 to Reyes.
So Reyes got to be smart. Make sure it's in his spot. If not, he's a double anytime he gets on base, get in scoring position.
Taking all the way. It's a strike. 2-1.
Well, the maturation of Reyes is just fantastic as Castillo waits for a chance maybe to bat with Reyes on board. Those are the kind of things you have to do as a leadoff hitter late in the game. Sometimes you have to take pitches down the middle.
And that one taken for a strike. 2-2. Well, one thing about both Reyes and Castillo, they've both been amongst the best in baseball at hitting with 2 strikes this year. So they can work deep counts. 2-2 to Reyes. Inside, ball 3. Cordero 32 for 37 in save opportunities, but here not a save opportunity. There you see Reyes with 2 strikes, 271. Castillo 293. Those are great numbers with 2 strikes. Ball 4, and Reyes is on. So now the Mets get the go-ahead run aboard, and Reyes, you can be certain, will try and swipe one to get into scoring position for Castillo. Castillo in his Mets debut tonight, 0 for 3 in a sacrifice. He had a chance to really do some damage in the 7th with the bases loaded and 1 out. He flied out to shallow left. Now his job is to take some pitches and let Reyes try for his 50th steal.
Cordero does not have a good move. He's slow to the plate. Miller's been pretty good this year. 5 out of 16 would-be base stealers. Much better than the #1 catcher for the Brewers. Estrada, only 6 out of 47 would-be base stealers have been thrown out.
Slide step by Cordero, and he misses high. Now opposing base stealers are 2 for 2 against Cordero this year. But that was that slide step was pretty good.
Good slide step, but he went from 95 miles an hour to 91 miles an hour.
And Reyes gets the hand back.
I see a lot of pitchers slide step, and you say, boy, that's great. He kept him close. Problem is that he didn't throw a strike. It was 5 miles an hour slower. And you run the danger of giving up a base hit here to Castillo.
Reyes edges away and just barely gets by. You see the numbers on Cordero. So they haven't run a lot, but then again, they haven't been on a lot against Cordero. He's been so good. He's trying to time that move as Reyes takes that extra step.
Cordero has a pretty good move to first, not a great one, but Reyes right now is taking probably the biggest lead he's had all year, just trying to edge out there 1/2 more step.
There he goes. He's running, pitch high. Miller has no chance. That's the 50th stolen base of the season for Jose Reyes.
Good job by Castillo. He works the count now 2-0. And almost a running start by Jose Reyes, who just timed it perfectly. 3.5, 4 steps by the time that Cordero got rid of that pitch.
So now the Mets are a base hit away from grabbing the lead. 2-2 top of the ninth. Reyes at second and 2 down. 2-0 to Castillo. Takes a strike. David Wright would be next. Nobody covering or even close to covering. "31-year-old Luis Castillo in his first game as a Met. And he lines one toward left field. Over toward the line goes Mensch to make the catch. Mensch playing shallow and toward the line, and it served him well as he grabbed that liner off the bat of Castillo to end the inning. To the bottom of the ninth we go. Mets and Brewers tied at 2. Tied. Bill Hall ripping a double on the first pitch thrown by Guillermo Mota when he came on in the bottom of the 8th. That scored J.J. Hardy with the tying run. The Brewers would then load the bases with 1 out, but would not score any further. And now Jorge Sosa, who pitched on Friday night as a starter, in there in relief for the first time.
Well, that ERA almost jumped up to 4.5, has jumped up to 4.59 for Sosa, 7-6, almost 500, and just has really struggled since coming off that hamstring injury. Just has not been able to find that little niche with his slider. His slider's been up in the strike zone. Very dangerous against.
Jeff Jenkins will be the pinch hitter, batting for the pitcher Cordero. Jenkins not having his best season by any means, but they've limited his exposure against lefties, and that's helped him out. He's 2 for 5 as a pinch hitter this year. So Jenkins up against Sosa, whose last 2 starts have been on the poor side. Again, the Mets are 1 pitcher short in the bullpen because they're carrying an extra catcher right now. And that means that having used Heilman, Feliciano, and Mota, all they have left in terms of regular relievers are Seeley, Schoenweiss, and Wagner. So Willie trying to squeeze an inning out of Sosa, who is scheduled to start here on Thursday afternoon.
Well, that's probably by the books now. It's very strange watching him pitch from the stretch. Here's a guy who's been starting all year, starting an inning. Very strange that he wouldn't start from the windup.
Last year was used extensively out of the bullpen by the Braves and the Cardinals. And on 2-0, Jenkins takes low. Well, you can't come in and walk the leadoff hitter in a tie game in the bottom of the ninth. But now you also have the danger of grooving one to a power hitter. And Jenkins, you know, will be swinging if he gets a fat one. He takes all 4. So Sosa, coming on in relief for the first time this year, walks the leadoff hitter. And now the potential winning run is aboard.
Well, I don't know what else to say than to say Chad Fairchild after the game should take a peek at the game. As you see, Willie can't believe that's not a strike, and it's just impossible really to get a called strike tonight from the home plate umpire. I don't know what else to say. I can't say it any differently.
Well, the Mets got a break from Fairchild on a foul ball that was called a foul tip held. That was in the 8th inning when Damian Miller struck out with the bases loaded. Coming up tonight on Geico Sports Night after Nissan Postgame Live, we'll get the reaction to this game. Met the Yankees hit 8 home runs tonight. A-Rod not among them. And the Giants and Michael Strahan trying to figure out what his future is. All coming up on Geico Sports Night. So now Corey Hart, the batter. Hart is 0 for 4 tonight, and certainly the book says you bunt here to try and get that winning run to second base. Wright is not committed in. Playing just outside the cutout at third. Hart squares, pushes a bunt, and Delgado will let it roll foul. Wise move on Delgado's part, because if he picked that ball up, there was no chance he was getting Corey Hart, who really gets down the line well.
Really, the only way we would have got him was to drill him in the back or that play, because he was running inside the line. But nice heady play by Delgado. Hart, by the way, turned around and was looking at the ball. I just don't understand
why
today's player looking at the ball. Run through first base, and that's why they have a first base coach. He'll tell you later, it was a foul ball, kid. Go back.
Now Wright a little further in after Hart bunted the first pitch, and he bunts the second one hard. Delgado can't get it, and everybody's safe.
Well, Delgado charging in at the line, and that ball got by him as he tried to field this with his bare hand. Might have been better served using his glove to field that with the backhand to get the short out at first base.
So a leadoff walk, and now the Mets misplay a bunt. Scored a sacrifice, an error on Delgado. Sealy and Schoenweiss up in the bullpen. But at what point do you go to them? First and second and nobody out, and now you would expect J.J. Hardy to be bunting. Hardy blooped a single and scored the tying run in the 8th. He's 1 for 3. And the Mets look for the sacrifice. With Jenkins at second, Hart at first, and nobody out. And first, Castro and Sosa need to talk about the signs.
Well, the danger you run into now is that you don't have anyone in the bullpen other than Wagner. When you get in a difficult situation, who can come in and get a strikeout, and that's the Mets pitchers up and down the line, other than Wagner, really. Maybe Oliver Perez, Maine a little bit, but mostly contact pitchers, not strikeout pitchers.
Corners in, looking for the bunt. Jenkins at second, not a fast runner. Hardy lays off, and it's ball 1.
Well, the Mets executed early, Gary, and the Brewers are trying to execute them out of this game late.
Mets were able to dodge a bullet in the bottom of the 8th after the Brewers tied the game. This is a tougher one to dodge here in the 9th. Winning run at second and nobody out. And Hardy gets the bunt down. Sosa will have to go to first. And now the winning run is 90 feet away. 1-4 on the sacrifice. And now it's pick your poison time for the Mets. You got the rookie Braun at the plate with first base open. You got the league's leading home run hitter Fielder on deck.
Well, a nice bunt by Hardy, gets that, deadens it, makes sure the pitcher Sosa has to field it. Well, my inclination, to tell you the truth, is I'd go after the rookie Braun, even though he's had this amazing season. And that way, if you are able to get him on a pop-up or strikeout, you can walk Fielder and go from there. But tough situation for the Mets.
Yeah, your other option is walking Braun and bringing Schoenweiss in to face Fielder and hope he can get a ground ball. But the Mets are going to bring the infield in, and of course, you got to bring the outfield in only as deep as you can throw, although Moises Alou is playing a lot deeper than he can throw right now.
So is Milledge.
Got to bring those guys in, because anything over their head wins the game. Second and third and 1 out. Ryan Braun 1 for 3 and a walk. He doubled back in the 4th. 2-2 bottom of the 9th. And Braun takes the slider low. Jenkins representing the winning run is at third. Hart at second. And one thing Sosa's got to know is that he does not have to throw a strike. Of course, you also don't want to throw a wild pitch. That could end the game too. Slider in for a strike. 1-1.
Well, this kid's been a hero since he's come up. You just feel as though If he gets a strike to hit, he's going to be a hero again tonight. That's the kind of fairy tale start he's had for the Brewers.
Fastball misses, and it's 2-1. Jorge Sosa trying desperately to hang on. Pressed into service as a reliever for the first time this season. And with his back squarely up against the wall on a 2-2 game in the bottom of the ninth. Boy, does he need a strikeout. And Braun waves at the slider. It's 2-2. So now Sosa's put himself in a position to be able to strike out Braun.
Well, nice job of pitching by Sosa. 2-1 count. Braun expecting the fastball. Does not get it. Gets the slider. Good sharp slider from Sosa. Needs one more of those.
You're not throwing him a fastball at all now.
No, because he doesn't throw in. If he had a surprise pitch in with the fastball, that would be a great pitch to throw now. But he does not throw that pitch. His best pitch is his slider. Do not want to get beat with your second or third pitch.
Jenkins 90 feet away carrying the winning run. Slider got him. Sosa strikes out Braun for the second out. Oh, there's a king-sized out for Jorge Sosa, and now he's got a chance.
Well, he did. He doubled up on that slider. Perfect. Starting on the outside corner. The over-eager Braun, the rookie, swinging at it, and a key strikeout as you see Jorge Sosa. That reaction on that big out.
Well, now you got a walk fielder to fill the bases, and the Mets will do exactly that and go after Bill Hall. Hall has the biggest hit for Milwaukee tonight. He tied the game with an RBI double against Mota in the 8th. He'll get a chance to win it here in the bottom of the 9th as the Mets decline to pitch to fielder with first base open. Well, the Brewers left the bases loaded in the 8th. Sosa trying to make them leave them loaded in the 9th. A walk, a couple of sacrifice bunts, one of them messed up for an error. But a huge strikeout for Sosa as he got the rookie Braun. And now the intentional walk to fielder loads the bases. Bernie Brewer can't stand the pressure. Hall has done very well against Sosa. 4 hits in 9 career at-bats.
Well, for the Mets, if they are able to get out of this situation, what a lift for their team in a situation so dire. You can see him any way of getting out of this, and Sosa's put himself and the Mets with a chance to get out.
Hall hit an RBI double in the 8th to tie the game. Bases loaded, 2 down, last of the 9th. And Hall swings and misses at the slider. 0-1. So Sosa sticking with his bread and butter. Fouled away. 2 sliders, 2 strikes.
Well, good job by Sosa. Now, if you were pitching in any other situation but this one right here, you would love to throw something up and in with a fastball to get him off your slider away, but you can't take a chance. You might get a hit batter with Bill Hall.
Oh, and 2 to Hall. Throwing the fastball away, and it's 1-2.
Maybe Fairchild's arm is like Willie's. Maybe it's been in a sling for the past couple of weeks because he is not raising that right arm at all.
Castro sets up away. And then calls for time. If you're just joining us, Tom Glavine got a no decision tonight. Pitched very well in search of his 300th win. Left with a 2-1 lead in the 7th. Aaron Heilman got out of trouble in the 7th. Gave up a bloop hit in the 8th. Pedro Feliciano and Guillermo Mota combined to give up a run to tie the game and hand Glavine a no decision. But then they did a great job getting out of the inning. Mota did. Sosa, pitching in relief for the first time all year, has gotten in trouble here in the bottom of the 9th. Now 1 strike away from getting out of it. Bases loaded, 2 out. This is away with the slider, 2-2. And this has got to be the pitcher decision for Sosa. On deck hitter, doesn't matter. He can't come to bat.
You have to tell yourself in this situation, you've watched the umpire for 9 innings, you're not going to get a call 3rd strike. So you got to go for a little contact, make that pitch that you made on Braun. 2 more sliders if you have to. Got to go with that #1 pitch.
2-2 to Hall. In the air, foul. Nobody has sat down in this ballpark in about 3 innings. What a great game this has been. Hall asks for time. Jenkins, the only man that matters. He led off the inning with a walk. Two and two to Bill Hall. And he missed high, ball 3. So now it's run as far as it can go. The runners will be in motion with 3 and 2 and 2 down. Sosa got ahead of Hall 0 and 2. Now the merry-go-round will start. Sosa trying to grab the brass ring. In the air down the right field line, slicing, foul.
How about that? Sosa surprising Hall with the fastball on the outside corner. First one he's thrown Hall in this at bat. Good job by Hall following that off, right, Gary?
Well, he's got to throw a strike, and Sosa knows it. The runners get set to take off again. Blooped, shallow center. In comes Millage, diving. He made the catch, and the inning is over. Sosa makes like Houdini. Millage with the diving catch to rob Hall of a hit and keep the game alive. Shades of Beltran in Houston in extra innings. Millage with a big catch to keep the Mets in it. On to the 10th, tied at 2. Search for 300 wins for Tom Glavine. It has turned into an incredible ball game. New outfield alignment for the Brewers. Jeff Jenkins stays in the game in left field. Corey Hart moves to center, and Kevin Mench in right. Bill Hall comes out. The pitcher will hit in the 5 hole as Matt Wise takes over in the 10th.
And again, have just an outstanding season for the Brewers. Matt Wise, arguably, and in my mind, the best changeup other than Trevor Hoffman coming out of the bullpen in the National League.
Mets will have the heart of the batting order up against Wise. David Wright 2 for 3 and a walk tonight. He's driven in a run, and he takes ball 1 from Wise. Well, the Brewers were right on the brink in the 8th and again in the 9th, but they left them loaded both times. There's that changeup, 2-0.
And we talked about it earlier, the confidence that Millage shows in center field and the jumps he gets on the ball are just different. He's a different player in that position.
2-0 to Wright, and he takes high, and Wise behind 3-0. Mets are 6-3 in extra innings this year. Billy Wagner hoping for a save opportunity. And there's ball 4. So Wise walks Wright on 4 pitches. And the Mets have the leadoff man on in the top of the 10th. It's 5 walks given up by Brewers pitching tonight. And now Carlos Delgado will come up. Delgado 1 for 4 tonight.
Delgado did a nice job in that 9th inning, Gary, of yelling instructions to Sosa in his first relief appearance, trying to settle the big right-hander down.
Wise tends to be pretty easy to run against. Base stealers are 9 for 9 with Wise on the mound this year.
He has that Iron Mike kind of way of throwing. Really takes a long time to get on top of the ball.
So we'll see if Wright, who already has one tonight, tries to swipe one here. Wise paying attention to him. And the changeup misses, and that's 5 in a row out of the strike zone for Matt Wise. Ned Yost, who has watched his bullpen struggle over the last few weeks. They've been pretty good so far tonight. But now Wise trying to find his control. And Delgado takes it high, and it's 2-0. And Miller's going to run the ball out to the mound as Wise has missed with his first 6 pitches.
Surprised you won't see Mike Maddox here. Yes, after 6 straight balls, the pitching coach has to come out here. The problem you have here is that Wise is a control pitcher who hits the corners with his fastball and uses his changeup to get outs. But with the strike zone the way it is tonight, where it's very difficult to get a called strike, really works against the control type of pitcher that Wise is.
Problem is, much like we've talked about so often with Mota, sometimes Wise throws too many changeups. 2-0 to Delgado. And Carlos watches it wide, and it's 3-0. Well, the Brewers are going to get the bullpen cranking now, as Wise just has been unable to throw a strike. Moises Alou waits on deck. And Carlos takes it, ball 4. 8 straight balls, 2 straight walks, and the Mets have the table set in the top of the 10th.
The table set, and tables can be turned when you're facing a team that was not able to get in the run in the bottom of the 9th. Momentum in the Mets dugout now.
Chris Sperling, the right-hander, Brian Schaus, the left-hander, up in the Brewers bullpen. And for Mike Maddox, they can't be ready soon enough. So here's Moises Alou, who's walked twice and delivered the Mets' second run with a sacrifice fly, officially 0 for 1 tonight. Braun playing in at third, but there's no way in the world that Alou is bunting. He's wasting his time and putting himself in danger of having Alou hit the ball right by him.
Putting himself in harm's way.
I mean, I don't understand that. Is there any chance on the earth that Alou's going to be bunting here?
None. And if he ever did bunt, it would be on his own.
And now Braun is backing up, perhaps on instruction from the dugout. And that's 9 in a row. Wise still has not thrown a strike. Now, as a hitter, do you go up there looking for him to groove one, or are you just going to wait to take a strike?
I think right here you have to make him throw a strike, because right now that ball in his hand feels like a cue ball when you play pool. Just cannot get a grip, feels tight, can't get enough saliva.
1-0 to Alou, and he takes it low. That's 10 in a row out of the strike zone, and that's it. Ned Yost has seen enough. 10 pitches, 10 balls from a guy who normally has good control, and he's going to pull Matt Wise out of the game. And he just made the signal for the left-hander. Is that correct? Brian Schaus said, "Who, me?" Yep, it's the lefty who's coming on. That was priceless because everybody in the ballpark figured he'd bring in the right-hander Sperling, but he's going to bring in the lefty to face Alou with a 2-0 count. So Matt Wise just completely unable to throw a strike, and he exits after just 10 pitches, 10 balls. And out of the bullpen comes Brian Shouse to try and clean up for Milwaukee. And Matt Wise just can't believe what just befell him as 38-year-old Brian Shouse takes over the pitching.
Well, Shouse has had an amazing year. As you see, the only 20 hits in 30 innings pitched. He is there. Specialty left-hander comes in, usually just gets one out, but here under the gun facing the right-handed hitting Moises Alou with a 2-0 count.
If he winds up walking Alou, the walk would be charged to Wise. Wright and Delgado aboard, nobody out. Mets looking to break a 2-2 tie in the 10th. 2-0 to Alou as Shouse throws his first pitch. And it's off the outside corner, make it 3-0. Well, Chad Fairchild just has not called that corner a strike all night. And now it's 3-0 to Alou with Shawn Green on deck. And there finally is a strike. And the sarcastic roar. So a good hitter's count now for Alou, who's facing Shouse for the first time. And Alou grounds one to short. Might be a double play. Hardy to Graffinino and on to first. 6-4-3 on the double play. Delgado did all he could to try and break it up, but not enough.
Well, Taylor made two-hopper. Really not a great throw by J.J. Hardy, who kind of shot-putted it over there. And I gave Delgado some time to get in on Graffinino, who still was able to avoid him and make that throw to first base.
So a great job by Brian Shouse. Now the Mets have a runner at third with 2 down, and Shawn Green's been called back, and Damian Easley is going to come up to bat for him. So with the left-hander in the game, Willie Randolph makes the move here in the 10th. Remember, he's got an extra man on his bench tonight, and so he'll use Easley as the pinch hitter for Green. Easley has a home run in 3 career at-bats against Shouse, and now Ned Yost is coming out, and he'll make a pitching change. He's got the right-hander Chris Sperling up, and so he'll go to Sperling to face Easley. So the wheels turning here in the 10th inning. The Mets with the tie-breaking run at third and 2 out, and Chris Sperling will come on to face Damian Easley. And Chris Sperling becomes the 7th Brewers pitcher of the night.
Sperling, this is his 32nd game. You can see that high batting average against, as he has given up 40 hits in only 33 innings pitched, only 20 strikeouts. Not a strikeout pitcher despite his size, Gary.
6'6", 240. And he'll take on Damian Easley, who was announced as the pinch hitter for Shawn Green. So Green leaves after going 1 for 4. David Wright on third with 2 down in a tie game in the 10th inning. What a job by Brian Shouse, coming in after Matt Wise had thrown 10 straight balls, and he got the double play grinder from Alou. Now Easley trying to get that lead run home from third with 2 out. And he takes the fastball off the plate, 1-0.
Sperling only 33 innings pitched, 4 wild pitches.
Former Detroit Tiger, came to Milwaukee last year. 1-0 to Easley. And Damian swings over the breaking ball. 1-1.
Well, sharp breaking slider out of the strike zone by Sperling. Late break.
Easley with 8 home runs, 22 RBIs. Early in the season, he was the Mets' late inning gem off the bench. Remember the home run he hit against Jose Valverde in Arizona? Now trying for the big late inning hit tonight. Wright faking down the line from third, and Easley takes low and in, 3-1. Ramon Castro is on deck.
Damian Easley is very dangerous when he gets himself into these counts. 2-1, 3-1. Tries to get that fastball from the right-handed pitcher Sperling out over the middle of the plate.
3-1 to Easley with Wright at third and 2 out. And he takes a letter high strike, 3-2.
This ball a little high, but it's the one pitch that's ball Fairchild has been calling. That ball middle of the plate, up or down.
It's been a tough strike zone to figure out tonight. 3-2 to Easley. Struck him out. Chris Sperling comes out of the bullpen to strike out Damian Easley in an inning that started so promisingly for the Mets. Goes down without a run. At the bottom of the 10th, still tied at 2. And Easley, after pinch hitting, stays in the game in right field. Jorge Sosa worked himself out of big-time trouble in the bottom of the 9th, and he'll stay on for the 10th as he works his first relief appearance of the season. 6, 7, and 8 in the order. Kevin Mensch, Damian Miller, Tony Graffinino, 3 right-hand batters due up for the Brewers, who have just 2 players left on their bench, right-hand hitting Ricky Weeks and their switch hitting #1 catcher Johnny Estrada. The Brewers have been going with 13 pitchers. There's Ricky Weeks, so they only have 4 bench players, and they've already used 2 of them.
But the same danger that the Mets had earlier in the season. It's impossible to use your second catcher. Risk of injury.
Which is a problem for the Brewers because Estrada is a pretty good hitter coming off the bench if they could use him. Kevin Mensch hits the first pitch in the air to center field. Millage drifting back has plenty of room. 1 pitch and 1 out in the bottom of the 10th. So Millage, who made the game-saving catch in the bottom of the 9th, makes the catch to start the 10th. Here's Damian Miller. Miller had a chance in the bottom of the 8th to untie this game. Boy, both teams have had plenty of chances. Bases loaded, 1 out, and Guillermo Mota got him out on a foul tip, which was ruled to have been held by Castro, even though replays clearly showed it hit the ground. And the Mets got a break there. Miller 1 for 4 on the night. If you're just joining us, Tom Glavine a no decision in his first bid for his 300th win, left with a 2-1 lead. Glavine went 6 innings plus, allowed 1 run and 2 hits. He walked 5, struck out 2, left it to the bullpen, but the bullpen gave up a run in the bottom of the 8th. Run charged to Heilman on a hit given up by Mota. Popped up. Castillo and Reyes, and Castillo's got it, 2 away. So 2 out and nobody on, and now Tony Graffinino. Well, Graffinino in the bottom of the 8th, the bases loaded and 2 out, crushed one to deep left field that stayed in the ballpark and nestled in the glove of Moises Alou to keep this game tied. I want to count the number of hitters who've had a chance to untie this game.
Let me count the ways.
Glavine child, right jersey.
He's the thing. He's the hottest thing. You know, I mean, kids, they gotta go with the hottest thing, whether it's sneakers, shirts. It's David on the line.
In the air to left center field and playable. Millage calls off Alou. Alou takes it anyway. Side retired. He's not listening. 1, 2, 3 inning for Sosa. On to the 11th. Castro to lead off. Tied at 2.
Well, back to you from Miller Park. Chris Sperling is going to stay in the game. What a job by those Milwaukee relievers. Schaus getting the double play, and Sperling with the strikeout of Sean Green.
And a nice bounce back inning by Jorge Sosa as the Milwaukee hitters, all trying to hit the ball out of the ballpark, were dispatched on just 6 pitches. Ramon Castro leading off in the 11th. And he takes a strike from Sperling. Castro getting the start tonight after Paul LaDuca's hamstring was judged to be not quite ready, even though LaDuca tried to talk his way in. over the mound, but right there is Graffinino to make the play. 1 out. So 1 out and nobody on. Here's last inning's Millage, who gets another crack at extending his hitting streak. He's gone 0 for 4 tonight, but he certainly made a very important contribution in the bottom of the 9th inning when, with the bases loaded and 2 out, he made a diving catch to send this game to extra innings. Ruben Gotay supplanted as the Mets starting second baseman, out on deck to pinch hit as Millage takes a slider for a strike. Willie Randolph had a talk with Gotay today just to make sure he understood that he was still an important part of this team. Millage takes a fastball for a strike, 0-2.
Yeah, he doesn't want them to hang his head with Castillo here. Going to be the starter because Gotay has done such a nice job off the bench for the Mets in his pinch hitting role.
0-2 to Millage, and he waves at the slider. So Sperling gets Millage on 3 pitches, 2 out and nobody on.
We'll battle the bullpens for the Mets versus the Brewers, and Sperling has shown that great slider when he's able to get ahead. No chance for Millage.
Well, now with 2 out and nobody on, Gotay has gone back into the dugout, and David Newhan is going to pinch hit instead. Newhan just called back from the minor leagues over the weekend. His 3rd tour of duty with the Mets, and his first at bat since his latest recall. Mike Maddox is about to go out to the mound. Trippus interruptus? No, he's going to go.
It's a scouting report trip from Mike Maddox talking about Newhan with Sperling, since Newhan just recently called up, as Gary said. They will go over the scouting report, give Sperling an opportunity to know what to throw David Newhan.
David's been swinging the bat well in the minor leagues recently. Actually looked better during his last tour of duty with the Mets a few weeks ago, after getting off to a rather miserable start this year. Newhan has 1 home run for the season. Bats here with 2 out and nobody on in the top of the 11th. And a line drive base hit. So Newhan on the first pitch he sees drills the fastball the other way, and the Mets have the lead to run aboard with Reyes coming up.
Well, obviously the scouting report didn't say that Newhan likes to swing at a first pitch fastball. I mean, come on.
So Sosa is out of the game, and kudos to him.
Yes.
First relief outing of the year, got in immediate trouble in the bottom of the 9th. And was able to get out of it, then pitch a very effective 10th. There's Reyes, and he takes a strike. Jose's been on base his last 3 times up, a double, a single, and a walk. He also has his 50th stolen base of the year tonight. Aaron Seeley getting ready in the Mets bullpen. Billy Wagner gets up and throws a pitch from time to time as well, in case there's a save situation. Reyes hits it in the air to right field. Back goes Mensch. He's got play at the edge of the track. And the side retired. So Reyes making a bid, but comes up short. A hit and 1 left. Seeley will come on to pitch the bottom of the 11th. Seeley's curveball misses, and Jenkins stayed in the game in left field. So Seeley is the 6th Met pitcher of the night. The Brewers have already used 7 pitchers. 2-2, bottom of the 11th. And Jenkins way late on a fastball, and it's 1-1.
And the ball's only coming in about 88 miles an hour, but past Jenkins.
And the curveball swung and missed, 1-2. Well, Jenkins has got that all or nothing swing. Corey Hart on deck, and then J.J. Hardy here in the bottom of the 11th. The Cubs beat the Phillies tonight. The Cubs started the night just a game behind the Brewers, and the Phillies started the night 3 games behind the Mets. So that game is of import to both these teams. The Braves won their game. They got a couple of Kelly Johnson home runs and blew out Houston 12-4. Braves started the night 4.5 back after making their big trades. Hit hard, base hit. And Jenkins leads off the bottom of the 11th inning with a single to center. So just as Sosa was greeted by Jenkins, so is Seeley.
They greeted Sosa walking and getting on base. Here, that base hit up the middle looked like a changer from Seeley, and Brewers are in business again.
So here we go again. When Jenkins got aboard in the 9th, Corey Hart laid down a sacrifice, and it got by Delgado for an error. And that set the stage for the Brewers, who threatened but didn't score. That's a look for the bunt again from Hart. And he fouls it off the leg of Castro. Hart is 0 for 4 tonight, plus that sacrifice in the 9th. Wright playing the line, getting set to charge, and Hart misses on the bunt attempt. Lunging for that pitch out of the strike zone, and it's 0-2.
Well, he's got nice form. He covers the plate, but that ball right there is one you want to take for a ball, but Hart was not able to.
So now the Mets back up, not expecting the bunt on 0-2. Hoping to turn a double play behind Seeley. Bloop, shallow right field. In comes easily, and he'll play it on a hop for a base hit. A broken bat single to right after Hart twice failed to get a bunt down. And now the potential winning run is at second base.
I don't know how many times I see this happen. Hitter fails to get the job done. Pitcher 0-2, doesn't get the ball away far enough, and gives Hart the ability to get a piece of the bat on the ball, and he dunks it into right field.
So now J.J. Hardy, who got a bunt down in the 9th inning. 1 for 3 tonight. David Wright signaling the bunt defense to the infield. We assume Castillo knows the signs.
Well, you cannot let them get second and third again. What Seeley has to do now is throw a strike, bust over to the third base line, get that ball and make the play to right at third.
And he fouls off, or does he? Yeah, fouls off the bunt attempt. I think that ball was going to stay on the line for a moment. Now, Willie Randolph does not use the wheel play. You would think if you would ever employ the wheel play on a bunt, this would be the time to try and keep that winning run from getting to third.
Sometimes you have to roll the dice, be a little more aggressive. You know that Yost is going to bunt here with Hardy.
That's played straight up, and Hardy bunts it to first. Delgado with a throw to third, and he gets the force play. Beautifully done by Carlos Delgado. Knew exactly how much time he had, and threw a strike to right for the 3-5 force play.
Well, I don't know what the young Mr. Hardy was thinking about. In this situation, you always bunt the ball to make the third baseman field it. Instead, he chooses to go to Delgado. Delgado, who is charging, not right, and it is right at him with a little spin. The nice accurate throw. Big out for the Mets.
So 1 away after Delgado mishandled a bunt back in the 9th. Played that one nicely, and now here's Ryan Braun, who had a chance to win it in the 9th inning. But Sosa struck him out with the winning run at third. Now first and second and 1 out. And Braun takes off the plate from Seeley, 1-0. Braun is 1 for 4 and a walk tonight. Well, both teams have struggled to get runners home from scoring position. The Brewers have had huge chances in the 8th and the 9th, and now again here in the 11th. And Braun lays off, and it's 2-0. Hart representing the winning run is at second. Hardy at first with 1 out. Aaron Seeley trying to work his way out of a jam in the bottom of the 11th. Each team has 7 hits. Now Seeley behind in the count, 2-0. And Braun fouls one off his leg. aggressive young hitters.
Well, they want to swing because you know why they want to swing? They want to be a hero. And Aaron Sealy used that against Braun. Came in with a little sinker inside. Boy, the way that Fairchild has called the play today, anything that's not right down the middle, I would take every single time. Chances of it being a ball are very good.
2-1 to Braun. Ryan Braun, #1 pick by the Brewers 2 years ago out of the University of Miami, and he has exploded on the major league scene since being called up in late May. Despite missing the first 7 weeks, leading all rookies in batting average, home runs, RBIs. Fastball fouled, and now Sealy has worked his way back to 2-2. Two and two to Braun. Just got a piece of the breaking ball. Hard and Hardy, the base runners. Dave Bush, who's scheduled to start tomorrow night for the Brewers, up in the bullpen. Both bullpens are strapped. 2-2. Braun bounces one to the right side. Castillo to Reyes. Back to first. And it's in time for the double play. Side retired. 4-6-3 on the double play. As the Mets' new combo with Castillo teaming with Reyes turn it over to get Sealy out of a jam in the 11th. On we go to the 12th. What a game.
Mets coverage on SNY Model 2007.
We have the technology.
Don't miss a thing from the pregame to the postgame.
The 2007 Mets on SNY. Bigger, stronger, faster.
Get your New York sports here.
12th inning at Miller Park. And Luis Castillo will lead off against Chris Sperling, who's already gone an inning and a third in relief, the 7th Milwaukee pitcher. Castillo 0 for 4 in a sacrifice in his Mets debut, and he takes ball 1. Well, the Mets have already used Jorge Sosa, who was scheduled to start on Thursday. The Brewers a moment ago had Dave Bush up in the bullpen. He was scheduled to start tomorrow night. And Castillo drops down a beauty of a bunt. Braun the only man with a chance, but he's too late. A bunt single for Luis Castillo. His first hit as a New York Met. And it comes leading off the 12th inning.
Well, this is Rod Carew-like, the way he can bunt, and we've seen it all night. And who says he can't run? When he smells that hit, he can run.
Another guy looking over his shoulder. What is the deal with that?
It's everything's new, Gary. We're just outdated. That's how it goes.
If your 13-year-old son looked back on a bunt,
he could look back all the way home. That's what he could look back after he looked back at something.
Here's David Wright, who's been on base 4 times tonight.
What's great about, see both hands up on the bat, and he just look at the eyes right on it, and instead of hitting the ball, he does what all great bunters do. They catch the ball with the bat.
Wright slams one to deep right field. Back goes Minch. Back near the wall. And he made the catch. Kevin Minch going right up against the fence in right field to take an extra base hit away from David Wright. One away.
Well, Minch, who started the game in left field, looked back at the fence, timed getting up against that wall, cushioned himself, and made a fine play. Not known for his defense, Kevin Minch, but he makes a fine play on this drive off the bat of David Wright.
Well, we have seen some special defense tonight in big spots. And now a balloon is loose on the field. And the ball girl does a nifty job of picking it off. So David Wright, who already has 2 hits and 2 walks tonight, making a bid there for an extra base hit and coming up a little shy. Now Delgado, who's 1 for 4 and a walk, with Castillo at first and 1 out. 2-2 in the 12th. Double play ball right at Graffinino. Hardy with a turn, 4-6-3, and the inning is over. Another inning starts promisingly and ends quickly. Sperling threw only 4 pitches. 4-6-3, and we go to the bottom of the 12th. Aaron Seeley worked out of a big jam in the 11th inning. Now he'll face Prince Fielder leading off the bottom of the 12th in a 2-2 game. Is that a new twist on the rally cap?
I don't know what that is. You can't be hiding your face when you got a first place team.
And Fielder rockets one deep down the right field line. Gone if it stays fair, but it hooks foul in the upper deck. What a blast. A 500-foot foul ball.
Well, he gets a little breaking pitch in the middle of the plate, just a little too quick. And I didn't know anyone could really physically hit it up there. I thought that was free from any baseballs.
Wow. What a monstrous shot. Don't throw that pitch again, Aaron. He hits another one. Same direction, a little further foul. Wow. But now Seeley's ahead in the count, 1-2.
Kind of. Is he ahead?
950 feet worth of foul balls. I think I might bounce one. Lined off the glove of Castillo. A base hit for Fielder. So the Brewers get the leadoff man on yet again. They did in the 8th, they did in the 9th, they did in the 11th, and now they have the leadoff man on in the 12th. Fielder's first hit of the day, and now Ricky Weeks is up to pinch hit for the pitcher, Sperling, in a bunting situation. Ricky Weeks has had himself an absolutely dreadful season, which has gotten worse and worse as the season's gone along.
Well, in a game like this where you're in the extra innings and your bench is depleted, it's too bad that you can't really count on Sperling, your pitcher, maybe come up here and get the bunt down to save some of those guys and save Weeks for later.
Or use a starting pitcher to bunt and save Weeks. But maybe he won't be bunting. Weeks, who grew up playing with Prince Fielder and has watched his buddy's career skyrocket while his has stagnated this year, and you see how far his numbers have fallen off this year. And Weeks drops down the bunt. Seeley will go to first. 1-4 on the sacrifice. So that's the 3rd sacrifice of the night for the Brewers, and they're waiting for one to pay off. Kevin Mench will come up with a winning run in scoring position. How many times have we said that? Mench is 0 for 3, a pair of walks, made that nice catch against the fence to take an extra base hit away from David Wright in the top of the inning. Each side with 2 runs and 8 hits. Prince Fielder, who runs a lot better than you think, representing the winning run at second base. And Willie Randolph on his way out to the mound. To talk about strategy here, you got Mench at the plate, Miller, a double play candidate, on deck. So who do you want to pitch to?
Miller has grounded it to 5 double plays so far this season. Mench, of the 2, a more pure hitter than Miller.
And Mench also has very good numbers against Seeley. 6 for 12 with a home run. Miller 0 for 3. So you would think that would dictate an intentional walk here.
Discretion, the better part of valor here against Mench, as Billy Wagner doing a little managing down there in the bullpen.
Well, Billy, remember the game in Houston, was up and down 8 separate times. Said he pitched his first career complete game in the bullpen that night in Houston before finally getting the save in the 17th. And now time asked for by Minch. And it looks like the Mets are going to go ahead and pitch to Minch. Curious.
Well, I guess they are trusting the veteran Seeley to not throw any pitches and see if Minch can get himself out. Throw some balls out of the strike zone, especially the first two. Once they get to 2-0, probably will elect to give him first base.
Minch has already drawn 2 walks tonight. Otherwise 0 for 3. Mets play him to go the other way. Millage well over in right center. And the breaking ball popped up. Castillo out, Millage in, Millage calling, 2 out. There's a huge out for Aaron Seeley.
What you have to remember in that situation, if you're the pitcher, is you have to avoid the hero complex. What happens in a lot of these situations, extra innings, every person that comes up there wants to be the hero. Minch went out of the strike zone for that slider up and away and ends up getting it out, making it out.
Well, the Mets have tiptoed through minefields now for the last 4 innings. And Seeley trying to do it again here in the 12th. Damian Miller 1 for 5, singled back in the 7th. Fielder at second and 2 down. 1-0 to Miller.
I mean, no one wants to be the second catcher, but if you are Damian Miller, what a job. He's from Wisconsin, here playing for the Brewers.
He really loves cheese is what you're saying.
And brats.
You better not enjoy cheese and brats too much if you want to be a big league player, although it worked for Bob Wickman.
It did. It still does.
Can't find as good brats in Atlanta as in Milwaukee.
Works for Bruce Fleming too.
1-0 to Miller, and the breaking ball taken low. So now it's 2-0. Of course, first base is open, so Seeley doesn't have to throw him a strike. Tony Graffinino, the number 8 hitter, on deck. 2-2, bottom of the 12th. Game better than 4 hours old. 2-0 to Miller. Line to center. Millage right there. Now has to come in a few strides and dive, and he makes the catch. Millage misjudged it, but bailed himself out with his second game-saving diving catch. He did it in the bottom of the 9th against Hall, and he does it in the bottom of the 12th against Miller to keep the Mets alive, and it's on to the 13th inning. Well, it is not yet Wednesday night, but Wednesday night's scheduled starting pitcher Dave Bush is now in the game as we go to the 13th.
That's what happens when you have these extra inning games. He's already had 1 relief appearance, but 20 games started for the Brewers this year. 94 strikeouts in 124 2/3 innings. And this is what happens. You always have to be ready if you're a starting pitcher when you get into these extra inning games. They'll let you know around the 9th or 10th inning to get those spikes on.
Moises Alou has 2 career home runs against Bush in only 6 at bats. So another chance for Alou, who hit into a double play in a big spot in the 10th after the Mets had put the first 2 men on in that inning. So Chris Sperling went 2 1/3 in relief and allowed no runs and 2 hits. And now Bush, the 8th Milwaukee pitcher of the night. Now remember that the Brewers are carrying 13 pitchers, but one of those pitchers, Scott Linebrink, is not here after his wife gave birth on Monday. He is not going to be here tonight or tomorrow. And so that's why Bush is forced into this game. They have a lefty left in their bullpen, Manny Parra. There he is. And I bet he's wondering why he's not in the game, and tomorrow night's starter is. Manny hit hard toward the hole, off the glove of Hardy, and Alou is aboard. So Moises Alou with his first hit of the night. And the Mets have the leadoff man on again.
Well, this ball just hit too hard. This is a bullet that Hardy thinks he has a chance at. The ball runs right up his arm. And a base hit for Alou.
So Moises, who got a hit his first at bat back from the disabled list, then had gone 0 for 12 before that hit. And now let's see if the Mets bunt with Easley. You've got Castro and Millage behind him. Easley's second at bat. He struck out in the 10th and stayed in the game in right field. And he's up to bunt, but takes ball 1. Easily pinch hit for Sean Green in the 10th. But then they brought in the right-hander to face him, and Sperling struck him out. Braun set to charge from third, easily gives himself up. But now it's 2-0. So Bush has fallen behind the first two hitters, 2-0. Ramon Castro waiting on deck, and then Millage. Mets still have 3 players left in the dugout, including the slightly injured Paul Lo Duca. They've also got Ruben Gotay and Mike DeFelice.
Bush only has 29 walks in that 100+ innings. He usually can throw strikes.
And he throws one here as he easily misses on the bunt attempt. 2-1. If you were not with us earlier, the Mets today placed Carlos Beltran on the disabled list, retroactive to last Wednesday, to make room for Luis Castillo, who has had himself a very interesting Mets debut. Been right in the middle of a lot of things. The runner goes, and it's fouled off as Alou was on his way. I guess that was designed as a hit-and-run play, but easily looked very tentative swinging at that ball.
Well, Alou had a pretty good jump off Bush. Looks in on the hit and run. And it looked, he was very gingerly got up at second base. Hopefully Alou, with the shake of the head, has not injured himself again.
He has said that his quad muscle and his shoulder feel good. The quad muscle better than the shoulder. 2-2 to Easley. Takes inside, and it's 3-2. So now let's see if Alou's put in motion here after Easley struck out in his first at bat. Time to make something happen.
Yes.
13th inning, tied at 2. Mets scored both their runs back in the 6th, and they've had just 3 hits since. Runner goes, swung and missed. The throw to second. Alou is safe. He just beat the tag by Tony Graffinino, and Alou has his second stolen base of the year as Easley strikes out for the first out.
Well, the 3-2 slider from Bush fools Damian Easley. Good strong throw from Miller. And Alou with that good jump just got underneath that tag.
So that's just like a sacrifice.
Yeah.
Go ahead run at second with 1 out, and now Castro, who's gone 0 for 4 tonight, has also been hit by a pitch, has not hit the ball out of the infield. But a base hit here could give the Mets the lead. 2-2, top of the 13th. And a foul ball, that one rocketed off the home plate umpire Chad Fairchild. Knocked him reeling.
Well, we've seen Fairchild a couple times this year. This one rockets off his shoulder. It looks like it hits him in the side of the mask, but he shakes it off. Fairchild, one of the bigger umpires that you'll see. He looks like a defensive end.
Now maybe he'll start calling strikes.
Oh,
no. Mets have out hit the Brewers 9-8. They could use one more right here to grab a lead. Castro lays off the breaking ball, and it's 1-1. Lastings Millage waiting on deck. Millage has made 2 game-saving diving catches in the 9th and again in the 12th. Scott Schoenweis is up. If the Mets get a lead, it'll be Wagner. Slowly hit down to third, and Braun with plenty of time. Good stretch by fielder. Castro retired as Alou holds at second. Now they're 2 away. Well, Millage comes up. Gotay will come out on deck to be a prospective pinch hitter. Millage is 0 for 5 tonight, but gets yet another chance to extend his hitting streak to 10 games if they pitch to him, which they will, with Gotay looming in the on-deck circle. So Millage trying to pick up Alou from second with 2 down. And he hits one to the shortstop. Hardy with the play. Overhand toss. Side retired. Let's get the leadoff man on again. And failed to score. To the bottom of the 13th we go. Still tied at 2. Tony Graffinino leads off the bottom of the 13th inning against Aaron Seeley, who starts his 3rd inning of relief. Seeley's given up a leadoff hit in each of his 2 innings of work. Graffinino 0 for 4 and a walk tonight. He was robbed of a hit in the 5th inning on a diving stop by Castillo. Hit one to the warning track in the 8th with the bases loaded and 2 out that was caught. So he's had himself a rather disappointing night at the plate. Jeff Jenkins in the 9-hole is on deck, and then Corey Hart. Seeley behind 2-0. And Graffinino lines one into left field down the line for an extra base hit. Chased to the corner by Alou. And Graffinino pulls into second base with a leadoff double. And trouble has found Aaron Seeley again. 3 straight innings the Brewers have had a leadoff hit.
We mentioned the hard luck that Graffinino has hit in all night long. Right on the line, but ball over his head on that sinker down and in. And Alou nothing to do but play the carom and hold Graffinino for the double.
Now Jeff Jenkins is not a guy who's often called upon to bunt. He's been a power hitting threat his whole career. Let's see if the Mets even pitch to him here. You got Corey Hart, a right-hand hitter on deck, and Hardy, another right-hand hitter behind him. If you walk Jenkins, Hart's going to bunt. If you can get Jenkins out, then you take away the sacrifice. So let's see how the Mets decide to play. Jenkins has been up twice in this game. He's walked and singled to center. Now the Brewers have missed so many opportunities. They're 1 for 14 with runners in scoring position tonight. Another chance here with Jenkins at the plate. The winning run at second and nobody out. Ball 1. Willie Randolph and Ned Yost have traded 100 moves tonight.
Produced 4 runs.
Fouled away. 1-1. Well, Seeley's not a strikeout pitcher, but Jenkins is a hitter who strikes out a lot.
There's a couple different ways to get Jenkins out. Up in the strike zone. That's to chase that high fastball and that curveball in the dirt.
He's got that big uppercut swing from the left side. Hit foul, and now Seeley's ahead of him 1-2. There's a sellout crowd here in Milwaukee tonight, and the vast majority have hung in. Game that's almost 4.5 hours old. They came to see if Tom Glavine could get his 300th win. Glavine came away with no decision. And now the Mets and Brewers playing deep into the night. 1-2 to Jenkins. In the air to deep right field, headed toward the wall. That ball is out of here. A game-winning 2-run homer for Jeff Jenkins in the bottom of the 13th inning. And the Brewers win it 4-2. Well, it was a game to remember tonight here in Milwaukee. Tom Glavine tried for his 300th win, came up empty, and the Mets and Brewers battle for 13th inning. 13 innings before Jeff Jenkins' 2-run walk-off wins it for Milwaukee.
Well, both teams had numerous chances. The Glavine clan disappointed. Jenkins coming off the bench and coming up with a big hit. Castro stood behind that plate, wanted that ball up in the strike zone. Aaron Seeley wasn't able to get it there, and Jenkins delivered.
Well, both managers had to spend starting pitchers. That'll have to wreak havoc with their rotation for the rest of this series. But the Brewers win it in 13 innings, 4-2, as Dave Bush pitched the 13th and got the win. Aaron Seeley got out of jams in the 11th and 12th, but couldn't escape in the 13th. Jenkins' third career walk-off home run, and the Brewers win it 4-2, and the Mets stay 3 games ahead of the Phillies, who lost tonight in Chicago. The Brewers keep their 1-game lead over the Cubs. Tomorrow night, game 2 of this series. Don't forget, we start our pregame at 7 o'clock to bring you Pedro Martinez's rehab start from Port St. Lucie. Game time tomorrow night at 8. Coming up next, it's Nissan postgame live with Matt Yeloff and Lee Mazzilli.